great to have you here, man. I got a fucking amazing beer here. I know I brought it for Angelo, even though it's my fucking birthday. And you know what that sound means. It means it's fucking time to imagine knowing nothing. We have a great guy, great guest with us today. Let me see that real quick.
Absolutely. Gotta show him the can. Show him the can. Show him the can.
We're here with the one and only Master Deadly, pouring him an Adios Ghost from Monkish Brewing out of California.
Oh, Adios Ghost?
Yeah, and if you know anything about Monkish and you know anything about Adios Ghost, you know what we're doing right now. So we'll let Angelo get his beer together, do a little cheers to start it off. But just want to thank you in advance for coming through. I know I haven't seen you in quite a while. Last time I saw you actually was when shit hit the fan.
Absolutely.
Full-blown the week COVID hit. And I saw you at the gun store.
That's right. Get your guns.
Well, I was like, I just was like exploring the option that day. Like, I just thought to myself, like, shit just hit the fan. Like, what the fuck is going to happen here? I don't even have a weapon.
Yeah.
God forbid something crazy goes down. I can't even protect myself.
Yep.
So,
Facts.
you know, that was in the back of my head. So I was like, let me go, you know, and
it's funny that we ended up at the same spot.
Yeah, same time, same spot. Yeah. It was just like, oh, man, it's deadly. Hey, but hey, good seeing you, brother. Yeah. And
cheers, likewise.
Yeah.
And time flies, man. That was 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago already. Time really does fly. We've been saying it a lot on this pod lately. It's just kind of crazy how quickly it seems to keep on moving even quicker. I don't know. The older you get, quicker it goes. I don't know how it works. Couldn't explain to you. I don't even think time's real, to be honest with you. I think time's just a made-up construct of nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I try not to think about time anymore.
It's like
there's only now moments.
That's it.
That's
you're really, here now. That's all we could do.
All the great people say the same thing. It's just, what are you doing now? And when you think about it too, in terms of time, 24 hours in a day, how do some people get so much out of that 24 hours and some so little if it's still the same amount of time for everyone?
I compare my day to what I think guys like David Goggins are doing every day. Because in my head, I'm like, I feel like I just did so much, but I can't. David Goggins woke up at like 3 a.m., took a fucking ice bath, ran 40 miles, like fucking wrote a half a book.
Yeah.
Like even you, like I seen you on your social media now, you getting into the ice baths and shit. Yeah. And like I've seen Joe Rogan talk about it. Like I couldn't imagine, like I had to do cold showers when I lived in Cali sometimes. Oh. And I know what it's like to have to wake up and like.
Did they have the hot water quota? Is that why you're doing it?
No, bro. It was just, I was living in a yurt.
Oh, damn.
I was living in a fucking yurt, bro. And it was a cold shower sometimes. You know, we had a hot water thing, but sometimes it just wasn't working right.
So I started out with the cold showers actually. And it was, I came across Wim Hof, right? Like most people know who Wim Hof is.
That's how I found out about all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And funny story, actually. So I was doing the Wim Hof stuff and in my...
Just the breathing?
I was doing the breathing and then I was doing the cold, hot water, you know, cycling back and forth
like
when I would shower.
Cold plunge, sauna, cold plunge?
Not even plunging. I was just taking a shower and then I would switch to cold water.
So go from hot to cold.
Yeah. And then I'd put back the hot. But I was getting into the breathing as well. And then like an idiot, after the fact, I learned that you're not supposed to do the breathing.
While you're doing it.
While you're doing that.
Out.
And that's exactly what I did.
You pass out?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, shit.
Yo, so I'll never forget.
Wow.
Dude, I'm sitting in my shower, standing in my shower, actually. The water's...
Split your fucking
bro.
head.
So the way I landed and fell and like snapped right out of it, I'm lucky as hell I didn't crack my head open.
Holy
so
shit.
The water's beating down on my back and my neck, and I'm doing the breathing. And so, you know, if you don't know how the breathing is, I don't have it down to a science. I haven't been doing it recently.
Give them a fucking little quick.
Yeah, you know, so you kind of hyperventilate yourself a little bit, but then when you take
like quick, hard
breathing, and then you take a deep inhale and you hold it. Yeah. So
how long?
As long as you can.
As long as you can.
And then you do a hard exhale, right? And then you let that exhale out as long as you can. Like
so
you kind of don't take it in.
Full extent.
Yeah. So what happened to me was I did the deep inhale, and then as I was like, enough time was going by, I held it long, and then I did a second gasp. And it was right after I did that second gasp that next thing I know, it was like as if the lights go out. But thankfully, I just, you seen that video back in the day where I think it was during the Vietnam War, where the guy just puts the bullet right in the side of the guy's head, but he drops, right? Like it's like his knees down were chopped off. So I smashed both of my knees right into the basin of the tub and then was awake. I actually had more pain in my hip because of the way my femur smashed in, you know what I'm saying? Like I got jarred up, but like panicky, right? I was like anxiety right after, like, oh my God, what the fuck did I just do to myself?
Yourself out a little
yeah.
bit,
And it was, you know, a scary moment, but then I looked and I was like, oh man,
so
yeah,
I
you
shouldn't
know,
be mixing and matching.
you used to be doing this laying down. But you know,
now you told me you're up to 10 minutes in the fucking.
Yeah, so it's funny. On my way over here, I stopped in and I grabbed a drink. I saw my boy and I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, I do 10.5 minutes in the tub now, in the bath. I guess it's
fucking great.
And
insane.
And yeah, probably averaging 50 degrees, 47. I don't really put ice in it right now. It's cold enough, but yeah, I started with the cold showers. Started with the hot, then cold. Right, doing that for a while, and it was just kind of like. Self-development. I'm just one of those types of people that tries to challenge myself. If I'm challenging my mind on the regular for personal reasons, I know that my outside reality will always be better. So I kind of was getting into that. And then it was like, well, I really want to do the plunging. So Siobhan got me something for Christmas. I finally set it up and then kind of just started doing it. And yeah, next thing you know, I'm like, fuck, man, I got to do this every morning. This is going to be my routine. Started out with a couple minutes. And then, so she actually fucks with me. And one day it was like after I'd been doing it for like a week and she's like, how long are you going to do today? And I was only doing like 3.5 minutes at that point, 4 minutes. And she's like, anything less than 5 minutes and you're a pussy. And so she knows me. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm definitely doing at least 5 minutes, like I know I'm not getting out of here unless I did 5 minutes. and then, so maybe another week goes by, she plants another seed and she's like, well, we used to do 10 minutes. That's when, I forget where she said she was doing it for, like, she's a naturopathic doctor. So I think she said like the school she was at the time. Oh yeah, we were doing that. And we were told it's for 10 minutes. And I'm like, 10 minutes. I'm like, fuck.
Did you look it up?
No, I didn't.
Really?
But I was like,
have you since looked it up?
I haven't, but my boy D-Rock, who I saw tonight, was like, yeah, I that guy, that Dr. Huberman, I think is big.
Yeah. He's been talking about it.
And I guess he may have mentioned something where it's like you start to lose physiological benefits past a certain amount of time. And he was like, 10.5 minutes sounds pretty long.
That's what I was going to ask you. You should probably look into that.
I'm going to look into it.
I'm sure there is a optimal amount of time. And he is a good guy to get the information. That guy, have you watched the podcast?
I've seen stuff and I need to start following
I will be honest. I started subscribing to that guy recently because the guy's brilliant. Dr. Huberman is really. And he talks a lot about it.
This is delicious, by the way.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah.
But he talks like about optimal male health and like how to do this, that.
Yeah.
He knows every little thing down to like the fucking bone.
Sure. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I'm the kind of person too where it's like, all right, I've heard his name enough. I've seen enough like tweets and memes pop up with him on it that I know I need to start looking.
And another guy I've been hearing that we're mutually friends with who has been deep into this ice bath shit is Steel Toe Joe.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to try to get him to come on too. I wanted him to come on with you so I could talk to both of you about it, but maybe another time.
Yeah, maybe.
But shout out Steel Toe Joe, my boy. But he's been
dude.
saying he's been getting crazy with it, like putting crazy chunks of ice and letting it get stupid cold and testing like the limits on how cold it is.
Sure. And I can believe that because I noticed even like a few degrees difference is noticeable. So
he's been trying to get it like lower and lower
you're
and
like
lower.
32, 33 degrees.
He's a sicko. You know him.
That's crazy. Yeah. I did some I was training jiu-jitsu.
I remember
that
that
a little bit. He's a good athlete,
He's a fucking
man.
tough kid.
Yeah, definitely a tough kid.
Yeah, he's a good kid too. Always been a great
absolutely.
guy.
I always liked him.
Yeah, he's always been
Quiet
a good friend
dude,
of mine.
but always like during Crip Keep a shit, or I've run into him at the Checkmate, man. Always good for a smoke session and a good combo.
Great
so
kid,
shout out to him for sure.
Shout out fucking Steel Toe, my boy.
But yeah, so got into the ice baths recently, but there's something about starting your day doing something that you really don't want to do.
Yeah. And that's what Joe Rogan always talks about is like, ultimately it's like me versus myself every morning. And it's like, you don't want to start like this. You don't want, this is going to suck. There's going to be nothing good about this except for the fact that what I'm going to get for doing it after.
Yeah.
The benefits are just like, he talks nonstop about like, the more I do it, the more benefits I'm seeing.
Yep.
And I'm hearing the same thing from you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And you know what that is? That's a direct example of like adult mindset behavior versus child mindset behavior. And I'm all about trying to be the best adult now.
Oh yeah, because you're a father now.
Man. Like that completely changes a person.
100%.
Or at least it should, right?
Yeah,
like some
100%.
people it doesn't.
Yeah, but you're right.
But they're still, then that's a child trapped in an adult body who had a child themselves.
Yeah.
They're not, there's the definition, then there's the embodiment of being a father. But so I kind of, when you think about it like that, it sucks doing it, but you're doing it for the benefits down the road and you know that it's going to make you a better person. A child doesn't think like that. A child just fucking does what they're going to do in the moment immediately, thinks maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes ahead, at most 15 days or something, like, oh shit, I don't want to get in trouble or grounded. but they're not thinking 5 years from now. They're not thinking if I start doing something now and I do it every day, where am I going to be 5 years from now?
Correct.
And I kind of, the martial arts is what really started me in that type of mindset, discipline, and just time goes by anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, when people with the drums, actually, good example. People used to ask me, they'd see me play the drums and they'd be like, this was early on.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. That's how, real quick, that's how I know you. It's like going to a Crypt Keepers show, seeing you playing the drum.
Yeah.
That's how I know you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We met through Crypt Keepers for sure.
Yeah.
And then that VFW show was legit when we did the live band.
That was amazing. I was just telling, Earth was on here and I was telling him that there was, at that time, there was only probably 25 people in the room and it was such a dope fucking concert.
Yeah.
Like Buckshot killed it.
Yeah.
And you guys killed it and everybody killed it.
That was a legendary show.
It was a great show. There was not many, unfortunately, weird events happened and a lot of people left.
It's funny too, because the best show when I was in my band Strychnine, which was the last band I was in where it was like professional, I was touring, playing all the time, practicing.
It was like heavy metal shit?
Hardcore metal. Like, I don't know, like Lamb of God style, Killswitch Engage, back early 2000s style of like metal. But one of the best shows, if not the best show I ever did, the best time I ever had in my life playing music was at a VFW hall in like the fucking backwoods of Virginia. And like, dude, the people that were
wild.
The people that were at this show and just like the shit that went on was amazing. And so then the band breaks up. I don't get back into a band. I jam, I record and stuff. I do some tracks for people, but I never got back into the idea of like, I'm going to be a professional drummer. This is my life.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, that VFW hall show in Setauket with me on the drums, Remorse on the bass, and who do we had? Nordberg playing guitar.
Yeah.
And then Garbage just rapping was like the most fun I've ever had. And I say that reluctantly, like the guitarist from that band, Strychnine, his dear friend, passed away. And like, I'm not trying to make him upset wherever he may be right now, but that show with the Crypt Keepers was like the most fun I've ever had in my life with music.
I love that. Far. I love that.
Like by far, hands down. And so,
I mean, that's what it's about, man.
Oh,
you know what I mean? That's what it really is all about. That's why I started making music. You know what I mean? It's fun. And playing, there's nothing like that sometimes. The feeling of just really letting loose out there. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, right? Because I used to always have a chip on my shoulder because, especially in Three Village, people would know me as Master Deadly as a rapper.
Yeah.
Crypt Keepers. Yeah. And I literally would be like, I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
Like, and it didn't connect for a lot of people. Like I, as a musician, as my first kind of like, this is what I'm going to do, where my identity, I finally like found an identity. Because I was
drumming.
Yeah, I grew up and I was like, yo, how does this dude know he wants to be a doctor? How does this dude know he's going to be a lawyer? How does this guy know he's going into this trade? I was kind of, until I was 16 and first started playing the drums, I was like, what the fuck, man? I don't know what I want to do with my life. And then it was just like, boom, oh, I'm going to be a drummer. Like I started having dreams I was playing the drums. So this is actually a cool story. And this is another reason why I'm kind of abstaining from smoking weed again, is because I don't remember my dreams when I smoke. I'm a very prolific dreamer.
I am too. And I have on and off periods where I'm able to dream a little bit when I'm smoking. And then I have other times where I just remember absolutely nothing. But when I don't smoke, I have crazy, vivid, wild dreams.
Like every day I keep a dream journal. I'll wake up and be like, holy shit, that was awesome. I call it gravity dancing, gravity dancing. But
gravity. Another made up construct. Just like time.
Exactly. Just some math dancing.
No, physics.
But so it's like a lot of times I have these recurring dreams where it's almost like a Superman experience where I can just jump up in the air and then go horizontal to the ground and I start flying around. So anyway,
shit, that sounds fun as shit.
Yeah. So it's I had a chip on my shoulder about people just kind of not knowing that I was a drummer. So anyway, I'm starting to have these dreams. I would wake up and I was like, dude, that was fucking awesome. I was just wailing out on the drums. Like not third person. I was in front of a drum set, or drum set was in front of me and I was playing. Dude, this happened the same week that randomly this kid comes up to me in psychology class and is like, do you want to buy Eric Bauman's drum set? And Eric Bauman at the time was someone that was just a sick musician, drummer. He still is. But I would always be obsessed. Like he would be in a band. They'd play at like the Battle of the Bands at Jolinas and whatnot, or like these shows. And I would always just be staring at the drummer. My friend Chris Bynum, his brother had an electronic drum set at the house. We'd be smoking weed after school. I'd always just go over and like look at the drums. I was obsessed with the drums without a drum set. Always tapping. So dude, my parents got my older brother Beef, the Muppet animal drum set. I'm not even old enough to remember this. I destroyed it because they didn't give it to me. They gave it to him. I beat the shit out of it and destroyed it.
That's hilarious.
So I was a born drummer. I just didn't get into it until I was later, older in life. And so I'm like, literally, I was a dishwasher at the Brookhouse restaurant. You remember that spot in Stony
the Brookhouse is this old Stony Brook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, next to the post office.
Yeah.
And I was a dishwasher, so I had some loot. It was $200. I bought a 1976 Ludwig Vistalite, old school, like classic drum set. The rest is history. I was obsessed, like every day after school. And I was just like, oh, wow, finally, nice. I'm going to be a
Found
drummer.
you like.
Yeah. Like I would listen to a song, be able to play it. And then I'd be like, oh, well, if I'm already playing this song and that guy's in AC/DC, right?
Then
Back
I
in
could
Black
do it
was
too.
the first song I ever played. Yeah. And I was like, so this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it came to like running into people at the Velvet Lounge.
And they're like, oh, like you're the rapper for the Grip Keepers.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, like, bro, I'm a drummer.
Yeah. I mean,
I rap too.
Yeah,
but
I loved it, right? It was cool. And I'm totally was into the Crypt Keepers, obviously. But it was kind of like this thing where I was like, but fuck, man, I thought I was going to be this like professional, like superstar, rock star drummer. Everyone would know me as a drummer. And most people were just like, yo, dude, when are the Crypt Keepers going to play a show again around here?
Yeah. I said something in there when Earth was here. And I basically said something along the lines of like, in our town, bro, Crypt Keepers is one of the most popular music groups
fun,
of all time.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you guys were
local.
legendary.
I think because the way it was just a perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm. It was.
We were a little older than a lot of the people.
You guys
were
like
partying.
you guys were like the edgy local Beastie Boys.
Yeah, that's how I always would describe it to people. I'd be like, yeah, we're like a suburban white boy, Beastie Boy type.
Like Wilder.
Yeah,
yeah,
a little wilder. Yeah, I guess. I don't know if they were pouring Colt 45.
But wait. So we went a little off track here. We was talking about the Wim Hof breathing and the ice baths, and you kind of went into something about the drummer. I think there was a reason for that. I'm trying to remember what we were talking about. We were talking about something along the lines of the Wim Hof.
I'm not sure. Just like kind of where I'm at now, maybe, and just why I'm doing the things I'm doing, and like
because I've noticed like you've gone on to like this huge health kick. Yeah. Like for real, like, and is it because you become a father, or was it before that? I think it was before that.
It was before that. I think, and this actually goes hand in hand with, being a conspiracy theorist. It was when I found Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, like finding the martial arts.
When did you find?
So I started in 2011.
All right.
So 12 years.
Yeah. Wow.
I got my black belt last year.
Wow. It's awesome, bro. Congratulations. I know what that takes.
Yeah. It's
Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I worked with Debo for a long time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And, I also know, obviously, Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan LaFleur. He was in the UFC. I know you just got your kava from his spot.
That's right.
Shout out LaFleur, my boy.
Yep.
Great guy. Always been a great guy.
And Big Eric.
And Eric. Yo, shout out Eric, too. I didn't even know.
And it's funny, shout out to Little Eric as he goes by, Eric Uresk, is another, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, men's coach. Like, it's that world, I think, is just... What's going on in the world needs people like that in the world now, because we grew up in like the 80s and 90s. We were right at the tail end of when shit starts really hitting the fan in terms of how everything's being rewritten and the indoctrination and the programming. It's just the technology is so brutal now that people's minds are just bombarded and polluted that
controlled.
It's very seldom that what should be the men, like 20s, 30s, right? Like you think of a man, I guess, when's the peak age of a man, really? Like, because I feel like I'm still peaking, which is crazy. I'm 43 years old.
I got to tell you, I don't think that's true for most people.
It can't be. So. I mean, I see it, but I'm saying like,
I would say between 21 and 25, depending on the person.
Yeah. Wow. So take your average 21 and 25-year-old now, and I just see fucking boys. Like they're not even men. One hand's down the pants, one hand's on a video game controller, the cell phone, like
the cell phone doesn't help.
It's just, I see it. Like I just see it everywhere I'm going. And because of the conspiratorial mind and what I also see going on, and now that I'm a father, I deem everything as an attack on my son's future.
Oh, I would feel the same way. Because I feel like everything, that is one way that I definitely agree with you, is that like everything that I look at this like is like, this next generation is just, they keep on just fucking them worse and worse. Every generation gets fucked worse and worse and worse. It just down the line, every time somebody's born, they're fucked worse next and the worst.
Yeah, big time.
The next.
It's funny, actually, I got a DM from a guy I was chatting with who's a teacher, and it's fun, like the people that kind of slide into my DMs, like they're scared to say stuff on their own. They're not
But
posting.
they agree with
social
something you're
media,
saying.
but they're always kind of giving me that like silent high five. Like, I keep on doing what you're doing. I can't say it. And he was like, yeah, we got out just before the brainwashing started. And I was like, bro, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, we were brainwashed just like anybody else. If you went to the public indoctrination centers called public school,
100%.
you were brainwashed.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's not an education.
No.
Like, I'm not scared to say these things anymore.
Me either.
I don't care what people want to call me when I say this shit.
Yeah, me either.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, me either.
Like, people, well, are you gonna, you're gonna send your kid to school? And I'll be like, do you watch the content that I put out there? Do you not know that I walk the walk if I'm talking the talk? That's one of the things that I've tried to hold myself to the standard of, is that in terms of personal growth and self-development, if you're always honest with yourself, like, nobody's perfect. It's a practice. I'm every day is a new practice. There's still things that I'm, tweaking, right?
Yeah.
Tweaking.
The only way to get better is to constantly evaluate yourself and say, this is where I can get better.
Absolutely.
And trying to work on that.
The awareness has to be there.
Oh, it's all about it starts there. It starts with
Yep.
acknowledging and then
Yep.
seeing where you can go from there.
And then I literally call it critiquing and tweaking. Like, if you're not then looking yourself in the mirror, evaluating your actions, your thoughts, your behaviors, you're then just literally mindlessly living your life. And if you're mindlessly living your life, rest assured that someone is in control of your mind, and it's not going to make your life better. It's not going to make this world better. Like, the people that are doing the programming are fucking sick.
They're sick.
They're
fucks.
mental defectives.
Yeah.
They're pure evil. And people,
The more money you get, the more evil you get, it feels like.
And that's even programming, right? Because I had to the money's the root of all evil. It's like, that's a fucking program so people stay poor.
I do agree with that to some level, but I also think there's something to that. Because it takes a certain asshole to get to a certain level in most cases.
I will agree.
Yeah.
I will agree. Certain people where...
You got to have that in you to get there.
Yes. Yeah. If you're cutthroat business because money is all that matters, that's a component of evil for sure.
Yeah.
But like somebody like me who grew up and was programmed to think like from the movies, from the TV shows, that the rich guy's always the dick.
Yeah.
Have you ever
That's
noticed
not
that?
always true.
It's not always true.
No.
That's a program that then you then grow up thinking, well, I don't need, the guy who's struggling to make ends meet is the hero in all the movies.
Yeah.
He's the guy that, is getting picked on, but then he becomes the hero.
They try to make something that people can relate to, and most people don't have money. That's the truth of it, And that's a part of it, but it's also
people having money?
Well, the thing is, that's all obviously top-down thing. That's all obviously been perfectly laid out over a long period of time to get us to this point. We're just at a very weird, pivotal, serious turning point in history right now that a lot of culmination events have led to, and now even more faster and faster current events are leading up to. And it's like, it's just getting more and more obvious though.
Yep.
It's like, clearly something big is coming because they're clearly putting this in your face so much, and they wouldn't have, let's be honest, put us through this whole rigmarole of the past 3 years, let's just call it.
Oh God, yeah.
If they weren't testing waters to some degree of what's gonna, you know what I mean? And I think they got their answers.
Indeed. And that's the other thing I think that people don't realize. Like, we were talking about time before, like, oh shit, man, it's been 3 years since I saw you. Time goes by so fast. It's been 3 years since the COVID nonsense started. People don't realize the time frames these fucking psychos work in. How far ahead they plan.
For years.
And how far
they're already talking about
along.
10, 20 years more right now.
Dude, I just saw a YouTube video from a G.I. Joe episode where Cobra was creating a one world fucking currency. It was like a coin. There was an Apple smartwatch on his arm. Like, they seed and plan
these
so
ideas in your head
far
for so long. Yeah.
So
it's all desensitizing at the end of the day.
It's desensitizing, and it's
predictive programming.
It's predictive programming. It's seeding. It's seeding the subconscious, and the subconscious only needs 2 repetitions. The first one is like, okay, I opened the door, and then it only needs to be done one more time. Like, I see that with my son. He literally can see me. You probably had this, right? With your kids. Mm-hmm. They can see you do something once, and then they just mirror, emulate, and mimic.
Of course.
And that's how they learn, right? And we call that learning, but it's just programming. I was thinking about this actually the other day. In terms of animals and dogs, I was like, they use the term, oh, is your dog trained, right? They don't. Yes, I programmed my dog. He was programmed. I did it. I programmed his behavior, and now he responds. People don't think that humans are the same.
Yeah.
Humans are programmed like any other
100%.
animal. And
they're products of their environment and their experience and the situation and everything.
And if you're kind of just mindlessly walking or mindlessly scrolling or mindlessly sitting in front of the TV or mindlessly going to the fucking movies, the stuff that's being programmed into you now is
so people
insane.
Say to you, like, are you going to put your kid at school? Clearly, you're basically saying no.
Yeah. So the saying I came up with, which I think more people should use when asked that question, if they're not going to send their kids to school, is the lion does not send its cubs to the hyenas to learn how to be a lion. So why would I, my son right now he's such a clean slate. He has not been, evil has not touched him yet, right? I didn't inject him with poison. I don't give him anything to eat that's poison. He eats, he doesn't eat chemicals. The man-made nonsense. He's never been to the doctor. His mom's a fucking doctor. What do he's never been sick. We didn't give him dairy. That's a big one, actually. People don't realize. So, we don't drink human milk as adults.
Correct.
Right? But we drink all this other milk. Cow's milk, right?
I use almond.
Almond milk even, right? That's something to look into, right? Any of these man-made kind of things. You just look in the ingredients, you're like, well, shit. If milk is good for me, and every mammal, every God-created mammal just sucks on the tit of the mother to a certain age and then stops. Why then?
Why are we not stopping?
And if it's well, cow's milk is bad, so let's make milk from all this other shit. Why aren't there just women paid to literally just pump breast milk and we serve human breast milk? That actually sounds gross. Oh my God. You see a baby in a restaurant sucking on his mother's tit, eating. That's a big deal. It's like, it's all programming, right? Because that's actually natural. That's a baby and that's how it eats. That's what it needs, mother's milk. But we look at that as like, get a room, go somewhere else, cover it up. Breasts are sexual. It's like, dude. Like, what?
It's all natural. But at the same time, I also kind of look at it like, do you shit in public or do you go in the bathroom? I kind of look at it like that.
Fair point.
For me.
Fair point.
I'm like, listen, like just keep, let's not, you don't have to do it in front of the kids or something like that. It's kind of crazy.
Fair point.
Yeah.
But it's more than linked to, let's just talk about why is human milk not consumed if other milks are consumed as
I don't know, but I mean, that's obviously some kind of programming, obviously.
So then with that being said, dairy consumption, when baby, like, I'm telling you, man, the way I watched my son grow up, he's going to be 2 in a couple of weeks. He'll grow up. He's not, old. But the way I watched him from infancy up through getting off of the bottle, it was, when you see these babies and they're screaming and they're colicky and they have all the allergies and reactions, bro, it's from the fucking poisons being injected into them, and it's from the dairy that they're drinking on the regular. When a baby's screaming, it's because it's in pain. That's how they communicate. Yeah. They're not just like,
what else can they do?
And what do the movies do? They make a baby seem like a bird, and the baby's always screaming and crying. The baby interrupted the adults. Yeah. It's like, dude, my son was never like that. My son was never like that. My mom even, right? 5 kids, raised 5 kids herself. He's the 5th grandchild. So that's 10. She's literally said to me, I wish your father was around. He's just different. Between my 5 kids and my 5 grandchildren, he's just different. And in the back of my mind, I go, yeah, because your crazy conspiracy theorist son didn't inject any poisons into him, hasn't been giving him dairy, feeds him good food, spends a shitload of time with his father and his mother, right? Like, we both work from home. I'm always around. That kid is always around. And
well, you also have the luxury. You also have the luxury and the blessing to be able to do that because you both work from home. And also, I would say that puts you in a different category where most people aren't able to homeschool their kids. That's a big problem as well.
Indeed. And I will consider it a blessing. I'm not going to call it a luxury because I've created my own life. And,
well, it's still a luxury
luxury. It's a luxury where I'm not trying to.
But it's a perk that you've earned.
Indeed. Thank you.
But it's still a perk.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
It was earned, but I'm not trying to discredit or make somebody feel bad who's like, I have a buddy actually who's having a hard time right now because his 2 kids are in public school, and he's like, even in his job, he's in a corporate job. He's like, he's from Australia. He's like, mate, he's like, what's going on in the world right now? He's like really having a hard time. And so, I feel bad for somebody like that. He can't just pull his kids out of school.
Exactly.
Right. But thankfully he's my first and only child right now. Had I had kids with my ex-wife, I was married when I was 30. like, yeah, this would have been a totally different conversation. So
Yeah.
I lucked out in that regard, but knowing what I know now, yeah, no chance in hell I'm sending my kids to school.
Let me, with that said, let me be devil's advocate for 1 second. Like, I would think one of the biggest arguments I would hear from that would be like, what about the socialization though?
I was literally about to ask that.
What about the socialization?
Sure
So I just want to hear what's your take on that?
Yeah, perfect. So what about the socialization? So I've actually seen a few memes about this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I'll just kind of like verbalize in my mind these ideas. So the socialization, you mean having men dressed up as stripper women reading them books in the library? Do you mean having them fucking not be able to exhale their breath freely and breathe in oxygen freely, wearing masks? Do you mean being separated 6 feet in desks in plastic cubicles? Do you mean not fucking being able to go to the bathroom without raising their hand and asking? Like, human functions, that's a good one, right? Up until you're about 18 years old, I need to take a shit. Shut up and sit down. What are you talking about? No, you don't. Bro, it's programming. So, the socialization.
Like, what about friends? Like, how do you, I guess
that's what I mean by socialize, really, is like, how do you get him into the social webs and networks and having social skills and stuff like that?
Yeah, fair question.
Like a buddy, you go hang out.
Because I know that's what most people, that's going to be their biggest gripe with homeschooling.
It's always,
Indeed.
That's always the question.
So we actually have a homeschooling program at the gym where for Jiu Jitsu and whatnot.
What gym?
And Vamos Brothers, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in Holbrook.
He went there a couple times.
I went there for like a free trial many years ago when I was like 50 pounds less.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
When was that? Like, what year?
I don't know, dude. It was maybe like 7 years ago. It was a while ago.
Oh,
he was there.
There's a good chance. Like,
that's
you
crazy.
Actually kind of looked familiar to me. So there's a good chance you either were in my class.
I went for like a 7-day trial or something like that that you guys had.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was just,
Sure, yeah.
It wasn't for me at the time.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
All right, so you have a homeschooling program at the gym.
Yeah, there's things that these kids do, and there's more and more people in the homeschooling world now. So I get it, like, from our mindset growing up. I knew 2 people maybe that were homeschooled.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
I don't know.
And you'd probably just assume, they're a weirdo, or if you meet them, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Well, it carries a stigma. And it still does. I think it carries less of a stigma now than it did back in the day, probably by a little bit.
Since COVID.
But
I'd say that.
I think it's still there.
I think
people have a gripe with, like, oh, but then the kid has no friends. Like, what are you? The kid's going to turn out to be weird because he has no friends.
They're not going to hang out in the summer.
That's what I always hear people say.
With each other,
but me personally, kind of I have been more and more thinking to myself, schooling doesn't make sense. If they're not going to do a complete overhaul of the entire thing and like rewrite it from scratch,
which they won't,
but they need to, but they won't.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't make sense either way. I don't think. I think either way, there's going to be pluses and minuses to the situation. So it's like, who are you to decide which pluses and minuses you're picking for your kid?
Well, I think another thing that I learned from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and training in the gym is that the efficiency of learning and the extent to which you spend 12 years, let's say from 6 to 18, you spend 12 years, how many hours a day in school to learn to gain nothing in terms of education. Like,
you're not bringing human real life skills out of it. No.
Seriously. And so that's what I'm like, well, wait, like, part of jiu-jitsu is finding the most efficient way to do something, apply it, and then continue to apply it, tweak it, critique it, go back to the drawing board. There's a funneling there of getting the best result.
Mm-hmm.
We should be like, when they say, oh, we've never been a better time to be alive, all the technology, society, medicine, all this. Why have people never been sicker? Why have people never been more depressed? Why have people never been on more medications? Why has people's math skills and reading skills never been worse? Why? Because it's by design.
Yeah.
They're not like trying to do these things, because if they were, it's a lot easier than people make it sound.
Oh yeah.
It's actually, the human's mind's ability to learn when not poisoned and not programmed nefariously is incredible. But most people, I just saw a thing, Kraft Heinz, the big thing. Oh my God, Kraft Heinz Lunchables are now going to be available in schools. It's fucking poison. So what happens when you're poisoned? Your mind is actually easily programmed. So that's the whole kind of loop about everything. So in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it, it starts with the food. It starts with the chemicals that are known to be able to kind of sedate the mind and tranquilize. And a sedated, tranquilized mind, then that's fixated on something, is in the alpha state. That's how you get programmed. Why do you think movie theaters literally, you sit here and you look up at the screen? The closer you are, actually, ever noticed ever wants to sit in the front row?
No one wants to sit in the front
row. No one
One
wants
person.
to. But if you end up there,
There's always people there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them do. The psychopaths are like, no, man, I want.
Well, those are just the dumbest ones. There's like whoever has the middle seat. That guy's probably one of the brighter guys in the room.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but the idea is a fixed gaze, right? Think of like hypnosis, right? Just kind of watch.
By the way, that you can't hypnosis. Doesn't work on me.
I believe
They've tried it.
Yeah, no,
in college there was a hypnotist, and it was like one of those like you go see a hypnotist or whatever.
Yeah.
They called me on stage. I went up there. He did his whole thing. I tried to do it. Whatever.
I think it's about like a third.
I looked at him and I looked at him. I went like this. He's like, get off stage.
Yeah. It's like, you're literally one of the people that can't be done. I think it's maybe a third of the population.
Yeah, that's what it is.
With. So, but yeah, with that being said, when you can put the person in that state and like fixing the gaze is
they was clucking like chickens, walking around clucking like, he had them clucking like chickens on the stage.
Bro.
That's crazy.
I was looking like, what the fuck?
That is pretty wild. I've never.
To you or
no, when I was in school, bro. I went to Cortland.
That's...
They did like the first week I was in Cortland. They did like a team building. Like you go, like all the new students go to the fucking hall and they have like a little show or whatever. One of the guys was a hypnotist. The kids I was with, we were sneaking beers before we went in there, and we're laughing, giggling, fucking cracking up, high and drunk. And my boy was like, "Yo, raise your hand, go up there." And I said, "Yeah, fuck it." I raised my hand. He fucking picked me. And they had everybody cluck like chickens, and I'm sitting in my seat like, thank God he couldn't do that shit to me. That looked like jerk offs.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? We kind of joke about being hypnotized, or you see a guy on stage and he's clucking like a chicken. It's like, what do you think's happening when you're glued to a screen and
for me, the Tick Tock is the scariest thing, bro. The Tick Tock for me is the scariest thing.
Bad,
it's something about it. It's worse than fucking Tinder, Instagram, any of it.
Oh, yeah, big
it's
time.
something about it, the way they just keep flicking one after a fucking another, and they can't stop doing it.
And the algorithm is just nonsense.
Oh,
I mean, you know this, right? Like
you saw, we just got 100K views on a video about nothing.
Bro, and in China, the algorithm's not like that. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, yeah, I do. I've seen the guy who owns it talk about it.
Yeah. Like they're, and that's the thing, right? So in terms of the algorithm being different, what's then different? The programming, the content that's going into your mind that you're then,
what they're allowing to pass.
All they're showing is like,
why
all they're showing is people doing dumb fucking dances on this shit. Everybody's just watching dumb fucking dances all day.
And what happened 3 years ago, right? Like would have never been able to happen if it wasn't for these things already, because these things started it all. People already got
sword, dude.
People already got locked in to this is my life, right? It's a screen. There's a reason these are black mirrors, right? Like in terms of ancient cult shit, symbolism, a black mirror, the TV show, Black Mirror, like, people don't realize all this stuff is.
I always tell people, if it's too coincidental, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
Start there. I mean, there's a fucking,
well,
if it's too convenient, it's probably too convenient for a reason.
Yeah, but and that's the problem too, because then part of the program is to be like, it's just a coincidence.
Well, that's why I don't
You're
buy
a
that shit.
Conspiracy theorist, like
we only talk about conspiracy facts here.
Yeah, good.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
conspiracy theory is like, like Elon Musk is a alien.
I like that.
That's a conspiracy.
Theory. That's a conspiracy theory.
Project Bluebeam is not a conspiracy.
No, it's not.
That's a conspiracy fact.
It's not.
So do you know anything about Project Bluebeam?
I sure do.
So I want to get into a little bit with you, because I've known about it. I've always been into UFOs. All right. So my dad is big into UFOs. He's always found it interesting.
Sure. And what's that guy's name? The big guy who he was on Rogan. He was a big UFO guy.
Graham Hancock?
No, not Graham Hancock.
Bob Lazar?
Maybe, yeah. That's
the guy who was basically working at Area 51.
Yes, yeah.
So that's Bob Lazar, and he's, a very credible source. He's one of the most credible sources out there. I mean, he literally, we could go into it that all day, but we have to start somewhere. Yeah. So I want to start with you on the fact of this. Right now, more than ever in the history of humanity, there's more talk about UFOs currently today, and not just talk about it, mainstream on 60 Minutes.
Yep.
The shit was on 60 Minutes.
I know.
They had a half-hour piece on 60 Minutes about motherships seeding the entire solar system with drone UFOs. This was on prime time mainstream news, and they have been doing it more and more and more for the past, call it, year.
Yep.
Every day you see another new something. It's like they have to keep it relevant. Why? You think it's just blatant? What textbook Project Bluebeam? And it's like, yeah, we know you know about it, but we're still doing it.
So it's just so hard for me. Full disclosure, great fucking hoodie, by the way.
This is available. You can reach out. Only the real ones know.
Yeah.
Firmament is real.
Yeah, it's really difficult for me now.
Shout out you wearing the same flat earth design as me. I love it. We didn't plan this, by the way. I swear on everything.
Flu World Order.
Yeah, Flu World Order
my boy
and
made
Firmament is real. Just
so flat earth map or UN logo.
Oh, no.
Surprise, surprise.
Oh, you know how many logos this is?
Yeah,
the thing on your shirt, the thing on my shirt, it's on everything. And it's all symbolism, bro. Yep. Everything's right in your fucking face.
Sure
dude.
is. That's the thing, right?
And if they're doing that, that means they're not only are they up to something, but like it's really something.
Yeah.
So
with the firmament and UFOs, right? It's kind of like this idea that so it all starts with space. It actually kind of let's get into it a little bit in terms of because a lot of people don't even know this, and I just don't care anymore. Because for a while, like the flat Earth idea. So should we get into flat Earth a little bit?
I want to talk about flat Earth, firmament, UFOs down the line. There's plenty for us to talk about.
All right.
So we got to start somewhere though. So So we'll start with the firmament and flat Earth and how they're related but not the same thing.
Okay. All right. So for me to start there, I have to just talk about NASA. So and how this all started for me. So let's look first at my arm. That's a
galaxy.
This is what I now know to be a fucking CGI cartoon.
Correct.
This is a spiral galaxy. I used to love I saw the Newsday article. I got this when I was like 23. There's the Hubble Space Telescope on the inside.
Oh, it's taking the pictures. It takes all the pictures.
Zooms in.
Kodak quality,
36 million miles away. 36 million light years away. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, dude. Crystal clear.
So this is coming from someone. I have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry from Stony Brook University. I was going to be a high school chemistry teacher. I was kind of like the same way Eddie Bravo talks about it. Like when the shows were on the History Channel, like I was all about it. I wanted to learn about space. Christmas, I was asking for the big astronomy books. I had a telescope.
By the way, now that we're getting into all the conspiracy stuff, Toothpick Tone's coming out. And if you don't know Toothpick Tone, he's like the kind of older gentleman, but not a boomer, who is open to hear these things. He's not just a closed-minded fucking brain-dead fucking sheep. And he has a brain. And he goes like this. And he picks his teeth like this because he's very interested.
Right,
so let me hear what you have to say.
So that's where I'm coming from. Hook, line, and sinker, scientism, right? I was all about it. And then I start getting into, my boy told me when I was still believing the official story of 9/11, before I was really in this world, truth or conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it, open-minded, researching reality.
I call it working brain, but continue.
Yeah, fully functioning brain that's willing to accept hard truths.
Thinks for himself, etc.
Yeah, critical thinking. We could go all day, right? So, and I respected this individual a lot. He was a higher belt. It was somebody, he's now my best friend. He's my son's godfather. So he's like, Matt, we were talking after Jiu Jitsu one day, which is what I really loved about Jiu Jitsu when I first got into it, was like, I could train in the morning with these guys, and then we're all sitting around talking about shit. Camaraderie. Yeah. Like, you mean it's not this idea of like the things you used to do when you were a kid and had fun doing, you can still do as an adult through jiu-jitsu. So we'd be shooting the shit, and I'm hearing these guys talk. I'm like, these guys are smart, like one of them was a math major, graduated from Stony Brook, was teaching at Suffolk Community, and like, these are smart people. Although I now, that doesn't matter. That doesn't make you smart, but I knew that there was intelligence there, and I respected what they were doing. And he talked about 9/11 first. So that's, for me, is where it all started. I looked into 9/11 with a new lens for the first time, and I was like, oof, all right, wow. So what else is going on? So now fast forward.
What year was this?
2012, 2011.
I gotta be honest, I was into this a lot earlier. I started probably.
Dude, I voted for Obama in 2008.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't, I mean, I was always
I never voted.
I wish I could say the same.
Yeah. The only thing I did is I wrote Bernie in just to say fuck you to the system.
All right, good.
And that's the only time I'll ever vote, by the way. I'll never vote again. I did it just to say fuck you.
Yeah.
This is how I feel about it, to let him know. Like, Bernie or bust. That's it.
Sure.
And honestly, he's sold out and he's a fucking jerk off too.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, when I was into this shit when I was young. I'm going to go back, like 17. And I remember seeing Bernie Sanders on C-SPAN. I'll never forget it. I just was clicking through the channels and I accidentally stopped and this guy was screaming on the fucking C-SPAN. And I just remember being like, who the fuck is this guy? And he's telling these motherfuckers off in C-SPAN. And I'm just like, yo, this guy's the fucking man.
Yeah.
And I just remember everything he was saying was making a lot of sense to me. It was resonating. At 18 years old or 17 years old, I just was like, wow, this guy's a real motherfucker compared to the rest of these puppet ass losers.
Sure.
And
well, that's the thing.
That for me, it's funny, full circle, you talking about the voting and all that shit is like, that was probably the pivotal moment for me when I realized like, oh, there is alternative motherfuckers thinking differently out here and trying to do something or whatever. And it was that and the combination that my dad was always like, oh, UFO show? I'm watching this shit. Fuck it. And I'd be like, yeah, fuck it. I'll watch it with you.
Yeah.
And like that developed my mind into thinking like, wow, maybe this shit, what if that motherfucker ain't lying? What if he really got abducted? What if he really saw that shit? Like, it's just the basis of saying maybe what they tell you everything isn't what it seems.
Sure.
So that was the start of it for me. But then, like right out of college, I was watching Alex Jones, bro. I was deep into Alex Jones shit back then.
Yeah, no. So you definitely had to jump on it. I was kind of not like, I wasn't a sheep per se. Like, I had my own mind, but I didn't know the world yet.
You weren't even thinking in the lens of like, that could be an inside job.
Not at all. My dad was like a hardcore Republican, so I had the father-son thing there. So I was always just like, well, Democrat. It was like more that liberal idea for me. It was like, dude, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
And like, I was tricked into thinking that was the Democratic Party. And through programming, the Republicans were like, this is, the right wing, conservative, Christian. At this point, I'm an atheist, which I no longer would say ever. Like, that's also part of the programming. Like, we can get into that.
So you're not an atheist?
Hell no.
You are?
No, I was.
You were an atheist?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But now you're not.
Championed the cause, man.
What are you now?
I am a spiritual being.
Okay, that's fine. I respect that. I get
journey, it. In a body.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not an organized religion kind of guy.
But you do believe that there's something outside.
I believe in the same way that like all of this technology was created through fucking serious intelligence.
So
there is no more of an example of extreme, beyond comprehension intelligence and design than the human body and mind.
Agreed.
And the way it works together.
Agreed.
And some of these other things that are unexplainable, for me to then think that their explanation of an explosion from nothing.
Oh yeah, we're a primordial soup.
And then, and enough time went by
that a primordial soup turned into what we do now.
Maybe if they had a better explanation, I could still be in line with some of those ideas. But
I will tell you, I remember maybe I was a conspiracy theorist longer than 17 because I remember being in 5th or 6th grade and them teaching us about evolution. And I went home.
Oh man!
And I told my fucking parents, yo, they taught me about this crazy thing today called like evolution. This shit don't make no sense.
Yeah, good for you, bro.
And I remember my dad being like, I'll be honest with you, like I've had the thought myself, it don't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, wait, so like I'm not crazy? And he's just like, no, you're not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're not. And like we certainly will sound crazy to certain people who'd be like, what are these guys talking about?
I still to this day very firmly believe that evolution is one of like the biggest crocs of shit I've ever heard in my life. It's a joke.
It is.
It's a joke.
It is. And you know what?
Don't get me wrong. There's elements of evolution that are 100% real. They're proven real things like natural adaptation.
But it's microevolution.
Correct. Microevolution.
Yeah.
This is not full blown one thing turns into another thing turns into another thing. We're not going to tomorrow turn into a fucking senator or whatever they call those things, a minotaur.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless we're in the fucking lab at fucking Plum Island.
Yeah.
Wherever the fuck they do the experiments.
It's all part of it all. And you know what's funny? Because this was further down the road for me. But when I looked into it, I was like, man, this is another fucking joke too. But, you need the timeline there. You need this idea of, well, it's millions upon millions of years, hundreds of millions of years. The fucking dinosaurs, dude. Like, most people don't know this. the idea of the Dinosauria, whatever, kingdom or however, kingdom, phylum, class order, whatever that whole biological sequencing is of the way they categorize things. Dinosauria was first postulated before ever any dinosaur bone was ever found by a member of the Royal Society in England. It was a complete psyop scam. And then all of a sudden, all these bones start showing up, never in the history books, never, or the ancient, never documented.
Never talked about.
Never talked about. And then you have all the shit. Anyone who thinks that they've seen a dinosaur bone in real life is just completely mistaken. They're all casts. They're all molds. You need such high clearance to actually see a bone in some of these museums that the average person, but what do? They make the cartoons. Everything that I see for clothing
they do
and
the
toys
Jurassic
for
Park
my
movie
son is all dinosaur stuff. So
kids love dinosaurs.
In terms of programming,
I love dinosaurs and sharks. Those are like my two favorite things as a kid.
But it's like without the dinosaur story, there's no kind of evidence, if you will, for this idea.
Well, there's no backstory there's no like reference point of like how far back you go to put it into perspective to understand it on that level.
And also the story of why they were wiped out, how they were wiped out, also then gives you the idea of rocks flying from outer space.
I just always looked at it like, wait a minute. So you openly admit there's like this giant gaping hole in the theory called the missing link, and you just want me to take it as it's 100% fact? How do I can't even respect that.
Yeah. So, all right. So, that's evolution. We really, you could probably do a whole series of
100%. 100%.
I actually saw one of you've already spoken about it.
I have spoken about it because
this
it's one of those things.
Link.
It's one of those things that I thought about very early. Very early on, it was something that touched me and was like, this don't make sense. They're teaching me shit that don't make sense. Yeah. I was young. I was 10, 11 years old. I was probably 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I was definitely not even 12 yet. I knew then, like, this don't make sense.
Yeah.
This shit don't make sense. There was a lot of things. By the time I was in junior high school, I realized, I think by 7th, 8th grade, I was like, I'm only here for sports. I do this whole rigmarole,
sure.
but I'm just going to take sports because I'm not getting into school, college because any of this dumb shit. Yep. I'm not going to pay attention or give a fuck about any of this dumb shit. I just got to concentrate on playing sports because that's the only way I'm getting in college. I knew that at a young age.
Yeah. So where were we? So NASA. So 9/11, yeah, that gets me into it. Now it's like 2017, 18. Flat Earth is hitting Instagram. It's hitting, everybody's talking about it.
You're right, because this is right after you got into shit. This is like Eddie Bravo talking about it.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, it kind of just, bam, hit the scene hard. And by then, I was already pretty seasoned as a truther.
I thought it was fucking kooky at first.
Bro, so
did you?
Yeah. So I was convinced it was a CIA psyop to discredit the truther community, to be like, if I'm going to come to you and be like, yo, dude, you never looked into 9/11. Oh, and let me guess, the earth is flat, buddy.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. And I did that to my boy, in a sense. I was like, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, I can't believe he's fucking going down this flat earth trail now. Like,
yeah.
But it was the same guy who taught me, introduced me all this other stuff and taught me a lot about researching and open mind and great books, got me into Graham Hancock, all this stuff.
Guy's the man.
Literally, right? So I respected him, but then the route that I took is what led me to accepting. I'm not going to say the earth is flat and I'm a flat earther, because
me either.
The programming, then people have the image of a tabletop like this zipping around in space still with edges. And it's like, bro, no, like the whole fucking thing you've been taught is not anywhere like near what we're talking about. So I come from the place now, when I speak about it, I say the heliocentric model is a fucking joke. It is beyond a joke. You can tear that thing to shreds. Evidence, scientifically, and experimentally, you can tear it to shreds.
You know Ewar?
Yes. Yeah.
So he has some good videos. If y'all want to look it up, if you got 8 hours and you know how to turn the speed down from 1 to like a different number so that you can listen to the guy, it's some of the most wildest shit I ever heard in my life. But there's so much real science evidence in the shits. Yeah. That like it has opened my mind to the point where I don't look down on flat earthers anymore. I look at them as like the same way I look at people who think it's exactly what the fucking science books are saying.
Sure.
It's obviously neither.
Yeah.
It's probably somewhere in the middle that nobody fully understands in any capacity whatsoever.
We'll probably never be able to, with our own eyes, experience it or see it or know it for truth. But so what I did, being the science guy, like, damn, my boy who taught me all this stuff and got me going in this world, is now attacking the science of this thing that I know, And I was like,
well, most scientists have a big problem with that.
Indeed. And I wasn't like butthurt about it, but I just said to myself,
it's like a pride thing.
I was
almost.
like,
it's like, no, look, I didn't work my whole life to become this so that you could say that like I'm wrong. I studied this stuff.
Sure, yeah, like I'm into this, man. Like I bought the books. I have a telescope.
By the way, evolutionists are the worst with that. They are
Big
the
time.
worst.
Yeah, yeah.
They hold their guns on the stupidest little points, and I'm like, you're dead serious?
Cognitive dissonance, right?
Oh, it's crazy.
And the pride.
No,
there.
it's also like delusions of grandeur.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So what I did, I said, all right, well, fuck it. I'm a scientist in my own right. And
you're going to do your own.
And I'm a researcher. I'm going to become a black belt in the heliocentric model so I can completely debunk and destroy and debate anyone who comes to me with this flat earth nonsense from like a truther perspective. The same way when you try and like truth bomb someone, you have to know your shit. You can't have any kinks in your armor if you're going to be a conspiracy theorist and open your mouth. That's what I've learned. Like don't, the YouTube videos of people fighting. It's like, you see the person, you're like, what was that person thinking getting into a fight or throwing a punch? Like those are the ones who are fighting.
Yeah.
I come from it as like, the more you learn, the less you do. And I was like, you know what? You can't open your mouth and give somebody a reason to discredit what you're saying. If what you think you're saying is the truth, you have to be a 10 out of 10 in your delivery. So I said, I'm going to fucking master the heliocentric model. And I literally spent, it was 8 months total. Bro, that's the other thing. Would you do your own research? People don't understand what I mean when I said I fucking spent 8 months doing this shit. Like 8 months. And at the time I didn't have a wife and kid. And I was only working weekends. So that 8 months means like
a lot of time,
many hours a day, go smoke a joint, sit down, get on my computer. And that probably already discredited it, right? Because I smoked weed first.
You're a pothead.
Yeah. Even though for me, like weed did dial me in. Like I had ADD mind. Always like weed for me I was self-medicating for a while in terms of my weed, then just became too habitual, anyway. So I spent a lot of time and I thought I was getting it down. And there was a point in time where it went like this. It was like, my confidence is going, I'm getting all this knowledge. And then it was like,
hit a wall.
Whoa, not even a wall. It started doing this. And I was like, whoa, wait a second.
Oh, it got kookier.
Wait a second. This shit don't make sense. This is flat earth down here is making more sense. What these people are saying makes more sense. All this other stuff makes more sense. Wait, this can be proven. I've seen this proven. I'm reading this book that has proofs in it. And then it's like, you go through this kind of, am I losing my fucking mind? Am I crazy? Like, wait, am I that dude who's like crazy? Because this can't be right. This can't be real. And yeah, it was probably about 8 months. And it was kind of like you're living in a closet because I didn't say anything to anybody. And for a while I was like, how can I? And then like I would drop things here and there. And then people would start asking me, bro, I heard you fucking believe this shit. And I'd be like, yeah. And I made it seem like I was trolling or joking around. Now at this point, I don't care because I don't care about what anybody has to say or think about me. So, like I let my walking do the talking, right? I know I'm somebody who put time and effort into stuff. And this is now the result that I got. If you think that makes me crazy or you don't agree, fine. I don't give a fuck.
You're allowed to disagree.
You're not going to clown me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to intellectually clown me. And then if you want, like, I'll beat your ass if we have to. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's no like, I don't mean it like that, I'm not trying, but like I've done the work.
That's where your mind's at.
Like, yeah, it's kind of like, dude, you're not going to fucking punk me or clown me. So bring something more to the table than Deadly's a conspiracy theorist, Master Crazy's nuts. It's like, dude, like what work have you done in the topic?
Yeah. Maybe
you'd come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are quick to judge on a lot of these topics without doing any of their own research, let alone 8 months. And that's a big problem. Is like, you shouldn't be, and I've always said this, is like people, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. They all suck. They all stink. Nobody has a real firm grasp on shit when they talk about it. They just say, this is the talking point I know of and I've heard, and this is what I think.
Yeah.
No one actually
they're
did
repeaters.
Well, that's what it is. They've never done the legwork to have their own opinion, but they want to have one. I've always noticed in the music industry the most. When I was in music, everybody thought they knew everything about fucking music, and the more you got to know these people and the more that you knew, they knew nothing.
Yeah.
They knew nothing. They were just faking it till they make it, and that's what most people do.
Yep.
It's just regurgitate whatever they fucking hear, and most of it is bullshit. It's just garbage.
Yeah.
And
well,
you can't discredit something that you don't know zilch nothing about.
Sure.
So people who are like, oh, flat Earth is crazy. It's like, all right, well, then you know nothing.
Well,
because it's not crazy.
No.
It's not crazy. It's just, here's the thing is, I don't think anything is provable, real, tangible. There's no evidence, real, physical, tangible evidence for most of this shit.
Yeah.
Most of it is either proven one way or the other on both sides.
Sure.
There's arguments to be had on both sides of the table for most of the things we're talking about. That's a cold hard facts, man. There are arguments on both sides of the table, but that's why I like these things. Is that not enough people are looking at both sides of the argument. So like us having this conversation, that's why it's important.
Yeah.
Is like opening up, like, yo, there is another side of the fucking argument. So like as far as with the firmament stuff and the flat earth stuff, what is some of the key highlights that you found that is like, all right, this actually sounds like it could make sense?
Okay. Well, if I may, real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things too, it's like when you have a conversation with somebody and they want to kind of need your, like a conversation flat earth with someone, it's like, dude, I have a science degree and I spent 8 months on the topic. You think by having a conversation with me, I'm going to convince you that the heliocentric model is a fucking joke? Like, that's not my job. Like, it's like I spent 11 years training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu to get a black belt. I'm going to have to convince you in a conversation that, you know, I can beat your ass. It's like, I put in the work. If you want to do it, you have to put in the work, you know, and most people just don't. They literally, they're not willing to. So when it comes to something like that, that's so crazy to most people, it's like, I'm not here to convince you. I'm not here to change your mind. But if you can't respect that after I did that amount of work, it changed my mind about something, what are we ever going to talk about? Like either you know, everybody's too set in their ways.
Well,
you know?
that's also part of the predictive programming.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And then the only other thing is like, you have to be open-minded because the people who think they know everything are some of the most just, they know nothing, dude.
Yeah. Oh, imagine knowing nothing. I mean, that's why we do this shit.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the type of people I'm talking about. Yeah.
So with the firmament, obviously you have all of the ancient scriptures, if you will, or
okay.
books.
Yeah. So that's when I talk about the firmament, the first thing I bring up is like, there are ancient scriptures all mentioning, not once, not twice, many times, the firmament. I don't think they wrote nothing down that long ago for no reason. I don't think any of those things are written down that many times in such important books for no fucking reason. Yeah. There's something to it.
Yeah. And the same way that they bastardize these truths and these books and things are still around and even used, like the Bible. Dude, I haven't done this yet, but I want to approach the Bible from this new type of mindset.
I have.
Yeah. There's so much in the Bible that's like.
It's not just the Bible. For me, it's all of the scriptures. All ancient, sometimes I sit there on Chat GDP and I just talk to the motherfucker for 2 hours straight about what is the oldest scripture? What is it? How does that relate to this? How does that relate to this? Is there any connection with this and this? Da-da-da-da-da. And the more and more I do that, I just find all these ancient scriptures have way more in common than they don't have in common.
Yep.
A lot of them are just minor tweaks. One went this way, one went that way, one went this way, one went up the middle. None of them are exact. None of them are right, but they all come from something.
Indeed.
And I always go back to that, is that all of these scriptures, a lot of them, they come from much earlier texts. Some of them we don't have.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them we don't have. The Vatican, imagine what they have. Imagine what was destroyed during the Crusades. Yeah. Imagine what was destroyed before that.
Yeah.
All of these things have been lost in translation, but what has survived? That's what you have to look at.
Sure.
Right?
And I think people go off of a lot too, the King James Bible. I mean, it was from a king. Like, so you got to at least already right there be like, okay, like, who's that for? It's certainly not for the people.
No, it's for the king.
But, you know, anyway, I think, so a big one for me with my own eyes, at least my own eyes through a screen, right? Like I haven't done the Nikon lens, whatever, that P500, or have you heard of this? It's a super zoom lens and they zoom in on the stars at night. And bro, they're fucking like multicolored,
moving around,
geometric, in and out the same way. Like if you ever look at a pool or light from water, and the way it kind of does all.
The refractions.
Above, water's below, separated from the firmament. I was like, dude, like that's not a sun millions of light years away. Like, so for me, that one, I was like, man, that kind of looks exactly like light that's being looked at through water. And so that you should look at. There's a cool Instagram page that I follow, Instagram Firmament, it's called. Bro, some of the shit that they zoom in with this Nikon lens, and you look at these stars, and it's like, all right, something's going on here. That's not the sun in the sky. What do you got? Operation Fishbowl, right? That's one. The shooting fucking nuclear missiles.
Trying to get through it.
Yeah.
So I've read enough about that to know a little about that. And that's like basically the idea that for years now, since we've had the capability of rockets, they've been trying to shoot them out into space, and they can't get through whatever the firmament is. And like, people always like, what the fuck is a firmament? And I'm always like, what's the atmosphere? So start there. What the fuck is but what is the fucking atmosphere?
Well, perfect point. And here's a beautiful heliocentric model, complete, maybe not debunker, but can someone smarter than me, a physicist, please explain this? How the fuck do you have a vacuum in space breaking the law that you need a fucking container and a barrier to have a vacuum next to a non-vacuum? We're not living in a vacuum here on Earth. So, gravity and the atmosphere just changing up. Where does it become the atmosphere of Earth and the vacuum of space?
Bingo.
Without a sealed container?
Correct.
So you can't have it both ways. And again, it's a bastardization of the truth, because we are a closed system and there is a container and there is something separate, but it's not a vacuum and fucking
I've seen some of
spaceships zipping around.
Yeah, and well, in reference to some of these rockets and what you're talking about, I've seen a bunch of videos, and it's like the rocket eventually starts to arc no matter what. They have a million videos of this. Every time
Disney
they shoot a
intro.
rocket.
You ever seen the Disney logo?
Yeah, it's a shooting rocket
and
that goes.
You know about Walt Disney and that past in terms
that's
of NASA and Werner von
Braun. There's a whole connection there.
Big time. And he was a sick fucking pedophile too, that piece of shit.
Who, Walt Disney?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Bro, do you know the CIA built Walt Disney on swamplands? Who knows what the fuck's going on over there?
True.
Like, it's just wild, and the more you dig into this stuff, it's just, and people, right, adults, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to ruin my childhood. It's like, so you're going to plop your kid in front of the screen and ruin their childhood too?
Yeah, well, we've talked about it. Like, Disney still puts shit out there. Like, in the new, we have a whole clip on it in the Santa Claus episode where they say, instead it says, we love Santa. Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Bro, the amount of, like, subliminal sex, dick, there's just never a good... The programming is never good. The programming is never creation-centered, family-centered, like mother, father. Like, how about the rewriting of every Disney shit now towards the total just like, woke, whatever you want to call it. I'm not even going to say these keywords that are going out there right now. But, like, really? You need to change these characters that much? You can't. Disney's done writing, apparently. There's no new stories, really. Like,
there's no new stories. We talk about this all the time, too. There's no new stories in anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Everything's a remake. Everything's a reboot. Everything's a fucking copy. Yep. Nothing is original.
Yep.
Originality is gone in the whole world. Musically, artistically, in general.
I was just speaking to that guy I was talking about, my boy Spain, who got me into all this stuff. We were just talking today, actually, because of the G.I. Joe YouTube video I just saw. And I was like, yo, knowing how far in advance they think, I was like, do you think that they did all that shit, programmed us the way they did with the cartoons and the movies, and now are rebranding it and changing it and recycling it, because now as adults and parents, we're into it and we're going to bring our kids along. Yeah, let's go watch Star Wars. Let's go watch Transformers.
I think it is a big part of it. I think it is a big part of it.
Transformers has a fucking transgender Transformer in it in the new movie coming
out. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
There's a transgendered machine robot Transformer?
Yeah,
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's new.
You know what it is for me?
Why?
No, for me, like stuff like that seems forced.
Of course.
It seems very forced.
Well, it's like, it would seem forced, but it's...
With a machine, it's very forced because, like, I don't even assume genders really with a machine.
They weren't.
And don't get me wrong, they give them like a man voice and like...
They were never explicitly gendered though.
But that's what I'm saying.
Even in the comics.
You're never thinking like you're like, no, like it's a machine. I mean, I guess you're saying he's a machine, but like, you're not really thinking it. Like, you're not like, oh, this is a guy Like, it's like, no, he's a fucking machine.
Yeah, because he didn't think that much into it back in the day.
Yeah, well, as a
know what I'm
kid,
saying?
you shouldn't be thinking about that shit. Let's be honest.
It's probably only a matter of time before we see the first love scene between two robots, Transformers.
Oh, I can't wait.
And, so anyway, like I was just thinking about that. I was like, wow, to what extent, because no disrespect, but back to the idea of being an adult versus being a child, no disrespect to some of these people that I know. And it's like, I hear them rattling off shit about Star Wars and these comics and the Marvel movies. And I'm like, you sound like a fucking 10-year-old, dude. Like,
I gotta say,
like, what are you?
I feel physically and mentally attacked because I love that shit, and I know. Here's the thing: is I do have enough wit to know that there's tons of weird programming and all that shit, and I hate it.
But you know it, and at least
I also love the comics. I love the stories. I love the movies.
Programmed
I love all of it.
It's hard to get away from.
And I'm like, no, and I'm like, all right, but this is my guilty pleasure here.
And
like I don't give a shit. I'm giving them the money every time.
At least
But
you're aware
B-Tone,
of it.
I think,
Yeah.
B-Tone, you're already the same way with the hypnosis where you're that rare breed. I think you're the kind of person that can do that. And
I can separate.
be immune.
I can separate because I'm like, I'm not gonna let it affect me, but I'll notice it though, and it'll piss me off. Like some of these little subtle things that they slip in and how they do it. And then also my boy Al, shout out Al Conspiracy Cuts. I want to have you on with him one day and do a 3-way
That'd be crazy.
dance.
Ayo.
No freaky.
No freaky here.
But I want to have a 3-man pod where we talk about this shit because it's very interesting to hear both these sides of it. But he comes from the perspective of very more of a religious background where he's very into the Quran. He knows everything like in and out, and he's able to relate a lot of that shit to that. We're like, oh no, like they're just taking this idea from this, and they're just taking this idea from that, and this is a old. This was in this scripture.
Yep.
He knows how to pinpoint exactly what's what more than me.
Yeah.
But I notice shit myself, and then I talk to him about it, and he makes me more aware of other shit. And the more I go down the rabbit hole with this shit, the more I'm like,
I know.
it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also can't help it. I love that shit.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, no disrespect.
Yeah.
And I get it. But I think part of it is because then it also falls into the my team good, your team bad. Don't talk shit about my team. Like they get a pass. And you're sitting in front of this stuff and you're spending all this time. It's also like, I don't know, sports is another perfect example.
Oh, it is.
Right? Like,
big time. And I found I was always the biggest fucking sports fan. The biggest. Everything. I was always just obsessed with everything sports.
How politicized
more
sports
and
are
more and more. I just fucking move away from it. I don't even care. I don't even check the fucking scores, especially since the betting.
Yeah.
Since the betting has gone crazy.
God.
It's like none of this is real. It's all fucking scripted joke bullshit. I'd rather watch WWE.
Most people don't even know this about the NFL. They are like contractually, they are an entertainment business. The owners, everybody works together
Just like
for the
WWE.
best of the NFL. Yeah, literally. That's proven. That's legal. So they could literally say, well, it would be better if this team wins the Super Bowl this year. And they will make that happen.
Yep.
And then people, well, do you know how hard it would be to make that happen? And how do they do it? And every play, and it's like, dude, have you ever seen the game that comes down to the worst fucking call in history? And then all of a sudden,
it always comes down to a weird play, a blown something, or they fuck this up.
That's just coincidence.
Yeah.
And boxing matches can get rigged, but not a football game, not a basketball game.
They've been rigging things for a long time.
Game. And when that amount of money is involved, that's another thing that people need to realize. When that degree of money is involved, for sure, you're not just having reality happen.
It's only advantageous to make it like that if you're talking about that much money. When there's that much money on the table, it has to be that good, that scripted to keep everybody watching and entertained.
WNBA games aren't getting fixed.
No, WNBA are not getting fixed. Although they probably are too. Just on a smaller scale. It's a smaller scale.
That's great.
But, it's so, sports and actually about sports, because I said my team good, your team bad. So what happens, I was always, even from a young age, I'd always be like, but that's not true. Like, you have to be objective about this, right? So if the call was bad, it was because it was against my team, it was bad. But if the same call was made and it benefited me,
clapping.
That was a good call.
No, you're clapping.
That was a good call, man. What are you talking about?
No, you're clapping.
He was safe.
100%.
And so there's no reality there. It's a complete kind of just like my team good, your team bad.
Well, I've said it for a long time.
And that translates into
sports,
politics.
Sports and politics are hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same thing.
Literally.
There's no difference between Republicans and Democrats and the Jets and the Giants. There's no difference.
So I've been trolling the shit out of CNN lately through some of my content. And because it's too easy. And I could just as easily be talking shit about Fox News.
Well, you talk about any of these because they're all skewed to one way or the other.
Yeah, but it's not going to get the same reaction. And the CNN guys that come out from some of these things, I don't know if you saw the one I did. So I did a great. So lately I've been doing. I'll just find a meme, and rather than just post a meme, then I do like a little video where I'm talking about the meme, and it gets people riled up. So this one was a. I don't know if I got it real quick right here. So it was an old meme that I had where it was like the top left was somebody cracked out on heroin. It said heroin. The top right, they were cracked out on cocaine, maybe. The bottom left, what was it? It was, let me just pull it up because I got it right here.
Pull it up, Angelo.
Yeah, so just so I just did this the other day. This is like, although my service in here looks like it kind of blows.
No, we're good. We're going to pull it up on the screen.
All right.
Which one is it?
Yeah, so go down. Scroll down a little more. That one right there. So heroin, meth, cocaine.
On the right.
And then so that that popped up as one of my memories, but in the bottom right, it was a different picture, somebody smiling, and it said marijuana. And then I was like, oh, but I remembered the picture of like, never forget what these people did. And I saw, I was like, oh, let me find some COVID dude covered in plastic or whatever. And I found that guy with the face shield and the mask in the pool with the rainbow cup. And I said, let me just put CNN. Bro. And I did this whole video. I called it Caca News Network. I talked about the effects of 4 major, mind-altering drugs on society. And so I go through it all. And on Facebook, bro, you get the old people.
So we found this out.
Boomers.
So we found this. Yo, we found this out the hard way.
Out the woodwork.
We started posting a couple conspiracy clips, and anytime it gets political in any way, shape, or form, the boomers come out.
Big time.
And only on Facebook.
Only on Facebook.
Yeah, because that's where they are.
Yeah, literally. And
they're not. They only use TikTok to scroll through to see their little cutesy videos.
No,
but when they're on Facebook, they're looking to.
They're going to defend their team.
It's worse than Twitter. People talk about Twitter. All the boomers who are talking the senseless garbage in this country are on Facebook.
And you know what's funny?
And they're all on the news. Every one of them is on every news post in the comment sections. That's all they do.
Yeah.
They sit in the comment sections on the fucking news shit.
It's wild.
It's
great.
Wild.
And so that specific one
Love
had,
the algorithm.
that had like over 100 comments. Most of them then become people back and forth. I'll chime in every now and then just for a laugh. Like I really don't give a fuck enough to like sit there and.
It's good for engagement, dude. Just keep doing it.
It's a form of trolling, and I get into it a little bit and I laugh. So
I'll just say okay to people. I'll be on like TikTok. We have like 500 comments, and somebody will say something stupid. I'll just write okay, but I'll spell it out like okay.
But the wild thing with this, I love using GIFs.
No, but that's all I write.
So
Yeah.
good,
Like it's like he just wrote like a paragraph talking shit to me about how I look like an asshole or something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And it's wild too, right? Because like, not to be judgmental, but like, what are some of the repeating patterns that I'm seeing? Well, these people, when I look and see their name, COVID vaccine, I got my COVID vaccine. Their profile picture has a mask. All this stuff where I'm like,
they drive with the mask by themselves.
Is demonstrating that you are mind controlled. Your comments are just garbage to begin with. But so anyway, with that particular one, I got into it with the guy, not into it, but like this person would not accept from me that I don't watch Fox News. I'm not a conservative. All TV news is fucking garbage. All politics is a joke. You're all under mind control. Like Fox, CNN, they're all one and the same. This guy wouldn't accept. I was like, what more do I have to say to you?
Well, this is conspiracy facts versus brainwash fiction. That's the problem.
Nice.
There's a big difference.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And it's just funny because all of these people are older. And so
the boomers are really stuck in their ways. The boomers are the most resistant generation. It must have been something about their predictive programming that has made them so resistant to any kind of change. Because
they will not change.
No, but our age group seems to be the most open to some kind of change for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
I don't either, but I feel like it has to be something within their time frame of predictive programming to get them there.
Here's the thing, right? I'll click on one of these people's profile, and it's like fucking reshare, post, 25 posts a day, all like
holy shit,
anti-Trump, but if it's the other way, it's anti-CNN, and I'm like, yo, my team good, your team bad.
Yep.
You trained your mind to have that behavior when you sat and watched all those sports games, and if the call went against you, it couldn't have been, the right call, but if it was the same exact call in a different scenario, It was. It's like, dude, I saw that in politics right away. I was like, bro, you're telling me, like, look at Biden. Look at the way some of these fucking brainwashed, complete mind zombies out there actually talk about him like he's good or has done stuff or is coherent or is anything.
I mean,
remotely nearing.
I always start with people with this.
Leader.
I start people with this. All presidents are nothing more than a glorified puppet. They're literally just a hand puppet to regurgitate whatever needs to be said in the public sphere.
Agreed.
And that's all they are. They are nothing more.
Agreed.
They are nothing less.
Yeah.
They have no control. They're not the most powerful guy on the planet. They're just a guy.
Yeah.
As a figurehead, as a
face.
speaker.
Yeah.
He's the face of the fucking corporation, dude. That's
and,
it.
And look at Trump, right? People wanted to talk about Trump. Oh, he was an outsider, drained the swamp. It's like,
no,
do you not remember The Apprentice? Do you not remember growing up when you were, 10 years old in 1990 thinking the richest person in the world is Donald Trump? That guy was part of the system from day one. The Simpsons predicted he was going to be the president. Like, dude.
The Simpsons predict everything.
Well.
I wonder why.
Well, yeah.
Who's making the fucking Simpsons?
Matt Groening, a 33rd degree Freemason.
Yeah, and what channel is it on?
Oh, yeah, Fox. But that's another thing. People don't realize this. Like literally the creator of The Simpsons is a Freemason.
Oh, yeah. I mean, start there. I'm sure that's just a coinky dink.
Of course. Well, I have friends who are Freemasons and they're, it's like, dude.
First off, anybody we know who's a Freemason is not even a real Freemason. They just go to a lodge.
That's what I'm saying.
We get it. Like, you don't know nothing.
But they don't get that.
Talk to me about Prince Philip or some shit. Like, whatever. Like, whoever the 33rd degree Freemasons are nowadays, they're the only ones who even know anything. And even they don't know shit because there's always somebody above you.
How back to the firmament, actually, that Simpsons episode, I think it was Homer, but they're in a stadium, hits a dinger, hits the ball, breaks the glass ceiling, and the waters come rushing in. Like,
and there's all those clips, like there's clips of all these like big figureheads talking about like breaking the glass ceiling. Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
That's the most famous one. The most famous one is like Hillary Clinton.
We need to break
the glass ceiling. Yeah.
Somebody needs to break your fucking face. Well, I'm not calling violence here, folks, but
no, but for real, like the thing about the firmament for me is just I almost do it like, do you know about birds aren't real?
I've heard of that.
Okay, so birds aren't real was like this spoof.
Which has to be some trolling.
No, it is. It's hilarious. Because they have
a video of the guy who ended up on the news.
The kid's brilliant. If you don't know about birds aren't real, the kid started a great, brilliant troll group of just people who would just be like, they'd be on a corner and they'd get 30 or 60 or 100 heads together and they're all in the corner with signs that says birds aren't real. And like, they were traveling around the country in a van and trying to convince people, and they were convincing people that birds are just mechanized government spy vehicles and that they're not real. And people were fucking buying into this shit. It was a great troll. But that's how I am with the firmament, is because every time I talk about it, people attack it like it's like that. Like, what are you? That's the craziest. Yeah. So now I'm like at the point where like,
sure.
I'm making shirts, bro.
Sure. A dope shirt, man. I would wear that.
Yeah,
shirt.
no, because you know what? It's not the fact that the firmament is actually a real thing, because I can't prove that.
Sure.
It's the fact that it could be.
Yeah.
That's what it represents to me. Yeah. You can't prove it. Yeah. Just like people couldn't prove that every single bird is not a spy.
Yep.
Just like you shot that bird. That's cool. You that's not a robot. But what about that one that just flew away? That's what their troll argument was. That's my troll argument with this. Is like, have you ever shot a rocket? Were you on the rocket that went through the firmament? Did you see a 360-degree camera angle from your friend's cell phone as he went through the firmament? What proof do you have?
Sure.
NASA? Because we can get into that.
Yeah.
NASA is the most proven garbage joke in the world.
This is a good one with NASA. A lot of people don't know or don't think about with the rockets, right? T-minus 10, 9, right? Take the word NASA and we have the T-minus, right? Add a T to the word NASA. You got fucking Satan. You literally have the word Satan. The only thing missing from
T-minus
Satan is
NASA also means
T.
It also means something, NASA. I forget what it means.
To deceive, apparently.
Yeah, to deceive. It means to deceive.
You know what? My brother, who was trained in Arabic and fucking went out to Iraq,
I know there's debate about it.
He's debated that,
but plenty of people have argued and said, no, listen, I know this shit. Like, it does have that context in some ways.
if at the least it's a coincidence theory.
It also has
when
this.
it's
It
close
also
enough-
has a serpent on the logo. That's real convenient as well.
Well, it's like the monster logo too, right? Trying to say that that's not 666.
Also, a lot of the other, I forget who it is, but there's someone related with NASA who has the same flat Earth design on it. I forget what it is. One of like the little offset branches or some shit has the same. I mean, there's pictures, you can look it up. There's memes where it's like 20 different government agencies that all has the same exact fucking logo.
Well, here's a good one for flat Earth stuff, like the logos on our shirts. When you do flight patterns, they're fucking straight lines on this map.
Correct.
When you do flight patterns on the globe, none of it makes sense. Why would the plane go bing, bang, boom, here? It's like, and then how about this? If the globe is really spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, travel times. Am I not moving with the atmosphere in one direction and then against it? Like, it should be, if you're traveling, because actually, this is the best one. This is the one that really made me think. At what height does a helicopter have to hover to see the Earth spinning underneath it and not land right back exactly where it hovered above? You know what I'm saying? Like helicopters can hover, right?
So if it just stayed there and then it landed, would it be in the same
At
spot?
what height does it have to go to not land in the same spot?
That's a good one.
If the fucking Earth is doing this at 1,000 miles per hour,
You got a point.
at the least, it should just be 1 hour and I'm 1,000 miles in a different spot. But what height does it have to be at to do that? Because it's not, we're doing it because they were.
That's wild.
Basic kind of just logical thinking will help you kind of be
Yeah.
like,
Well, that's
whoa,
what
wait a
nobody
second,
ever
it'll
looked
make
at
you
it in
think,
that
right?
spectrum, like from that perspective, like who has the reference of that? They only have the references of what they've been taught, and all of that is.
And then they'll say stuff. Oh, the atmosphere. You're connected to the atmosphere, and it's moving. And it's like, well, then, but a fucking bird isn't, or a butterfly isn't. Like that can just go on its. It just doesn't make sense.
There's a lot of things that doesn't add up on both sides. I got to be honest. I've seen good arguments on both sides where, like, even Al always says, like, with the flat Earth shit, he's like, it's not possible because the sun, no matter where it was, like, as it's moving, as the Earth is moving, you'd still be able to see it somewhere. You'd see it, like, in the distance, even if it was all the way over there. It's so bright, you would see it.
On a flat Earth?
On a flat Earth. If it was spinning, you'd see it somewhere.
I would disagree with that. Like, just take a spotlight and shine it down on this table.
Well,
There's
they've
gonna be
done
a dark spot on the table.
I've
Because the
shown
sun's
him
a lot closer than it's not 6 million miles away.
Yeah,
if you're going in the other route of
he's shown me videos that disproved it, and I've sent him videos that has also contradicted it.
Yeah.
So on that one specifically, I've gone back and forth because I've seen both sides of it, and I'm like, that's a weird one.
Yeah.
But in general,
perspective is a big one for me. Because I remember being on a lake once, and this is when you have these aha moments sometimes when you get into this stuff, and I was like, bro, a plane flew directly overhead, and then it kept on going, and then it looked like it was setting. It looked like it was dipping down. We know planes fly parallel horizontally to the ground. This plane wasn't, going over the curve, but in my view, it looked like it was sinking. The same way the sun looks like it's setting. The sun's just moving further away, right? Like in this logo, the sun just moved further away from you, but it's going to look like it's setting over the horizon because the curve of the Earth. It's like another good one for me is the amount of 666s all over the heliocentric model. That's one to look into if you haven't done this yet.
it's scary,
Bro.
It's
seasons
scary.
are caused by the tilt of the Earth, and the tilt of the Earth just happens to be a congruent angle that adds up to 90 degrees when it's 60. So it's 23.4. The tilt of the Earth's axis is 23.4 degrees. Well, when you add 66.6 to that, you get 90. We all learned that in school. What are the congruent angles, right? Oh, if I have a 45 degree angle, add 45 to make a right angle 90. So the axis just happens to be, you add 66.6 to it.
There's a million 666s. It's crazy.
Just be honest.
It's like every fucking mathematical equation revolves around the solar system is 666. It's crazy.
How about this one? Because it happened today. It was overcast because of the fucking chemtrails. And
Yep.
I can't with the chemtrails.
I mean, I've been noticing that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, it would always be like, what the fuck is that? Why the fuck are they doing that?
It's so bad now. Like,
And then 2 days later or a day later, it's like a storm. It's like, what the fuck?
so this is the thing that I don't understand. Like,
That's cloud seeding, right?
Yeah, big time. Like, so I get it that people are in their offices all day or they don't look up. But when you're these adults that are like my age, how do they not remember when we were growing up, like that old school Microsoft Windows first logo? that deep, dark blue sky with just the sun and a white puffy cloud for like 5-6 days on end in the summer. Non-existent. You will never get that anymore. How about when a storm comes? The storm passed. Bright blue skies, sun for a couple days until the storm comes again. Bro, just start paying attention to the sky. When do you ever get the deep, dark blue sky with just the sun, a couple cumulonimbus clouds, I believe they're called, the white puffy ones, floating around for a few days? This coming spring and summer, just pay attention to that.
I will say, in my recent past of my memory, there's not many, if any, days I could recall that were exactly like that. Maybe a few. I feel like those days that you're talking about, though, because it was actually just a blue sky, no clouds, just blue. Like a couple clear days, maybe, but not maybe like the ones you're talking about. I just turned 37.
Okay, all right, yeah. So not too much older. So
no, you're 5 years old.
Dude, I remember like the storm passed. It's gonna be sunny for the next week.
I mean, I definitely remember as a kid in general, the climate around here was different.
Yeah.
I remember playing hockey in October. It was snowing.
Yeah.
I remember in the spring, it got nice. It turned into a nice. There was a transition.
Actual season.
There was an actual season. These things aren't the same anymore.
Yeah,
Also, we have these weird winters. Either we get dumped on insanely,
Yeah.
or we get like this year, not one real snow.
Well, the whole chemtrail thing is so frustrating because it's like the way people just try and chalk it up to a conspiracy theory. It's like, bro, it takes 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes on your cell phone to go look at documented government weaponization of the weather for fucking decades already.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
going way back.
I remember 15 years ago, they were talking
like
about HAARP.
decades, dude.
Yeah.
Like Vietnam War shit, like making it rain, flooding them out. Like, they have the technology. They were using it that long ago. But this idea that, and now they're talking about it, right? They're postulating, well, because of global warming, we need to block the sun. It's like they already are. Like, that's what this is all about. It's not to make it rain. It's literally, if you think about, why did all these religions worship the sun? Why is there life on earth as a result of the sun? Why is there the allegory of Jesus Christ literally just the sun? I don't know if you've heard this one.
No, I haven't.
Oh, bro.
Let me hear this.
Yo, dude, I got to send you the video that you'll watch is a like open and closed case. You can't debunk this. So the amount of other instances, if you will, of the story of Jesus in previous religions is like absurd. Even in the Old Testament, it was John, I believe. Same story. Born on December 25th, right? Like, all these things mirror the story of Jesus. Horus in Egypt, they're all the same story. It's the sun. It's an allegory of the astrological movement of the sun. So the idea, Jesus was suffered, died, and was buried. After 3 days, he rose again. The path of the sun, right? When the winter equinox happens, the sun's getting lower and lower in the sky, right? Lower and lower in the sky, right? It's getting shorter and shorter days until the sun seems to sit still for 3 days. And then it starts coming back and spring's coming. It's died for 3 days, right? So you have that. Obviously, you have the sun of God, the word magic, yet again, walked on water, go to the beach and look at what the sun does, which also can only be on a flat plane. Sun would not reflect on water the way it does, where it comes to you. You ever notice that? Like,
I think I saw that in the EWAR video. That was one of the things that they pointed out, was something about the reflection of the sun wouldn't be able to do that.
So, yeah, it's not possible if it's curved, but also the fact that it's not just like a local reflection.
They took that EWAR video down off of YouTube mad times, and then he went off of YouTube, and mad people reposted on YouTube, and it keeps getting taken down. But nowadays, there's these other alternative sites, Rumble and Mad other ones. There's all sorts of places that are allowing like whatever content you want, and his videos are still up there. And as weird and as kooky as some of the shit he talks about is, and I will say that very clearly, some of the shit to me is very kooky and out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very mind-opening good information on those videos, and they're long videos. Some of them are 8 hours, 9 hours per video.
Yeah.
But this guy, that's how in-depth he goes.
Yeah.
Is that it takes him 9 hours just to explain some of these concepts.
Yeah.
And like, it's very interesting.
It is. And when you see it, so another one was the three kings, right? Jesus was the birth of Jesus. He was met by the gifts from three kings.
Yep.
A star in the east. Bro, literally the stars that are aligned in a straight line with the sun
Orion's belt.
on that day on the equinox.
Is it Orion's belt?
It's part of it's part of Orion's belt. it's literally called the Three Kings. The stars are called the Three
Really?
like they're, and it's in a direct line to where the sun has that moment where for 3 days it looks like it's sitting still. And then when it starts getting higher in the sky, it signals the coming of spring, the rebirth.
Interesting.
Very interesting stuff. I'm probably not doing this explanation.
No, but
good
it's
service.
so what? Let's plug the video.
Yeah, so it
What
was
is it?
called Zeitgeist, the movie.
Oh, that movie's great.
So
by the way,
it's built into Zeitgeist. It's part of Zeitgeist.
Which
Where
one?
it was-
Amendum?
The first one. No,
Oh,
the
the
very
first one.
one.
You know how long ago I saw that movie?
How long?
When did it come out? Look up Zeitgeist the movie. Let's see when it came out. I remember when it first came out because I was into all the Alex Jones stuff back then. And this shit came out and it was fire. By the way, it's like a 3 or 4 part series
Yeah,
now.
I've seen
Yeah,
them all.
and they're all good.
I love the first one. That was, again,
My favorite guy is that guy who's into like the psychological, like the clinical depression and addiction stuff and he goes into all the stuff about the culture and stuff like that. 2007?
Yeah.
I remember when it came out, bro. So this was when I was really, really into shit. Like Alex Jones era when he was like sneaking into the fucking Bilderberg fucking shit, the sacrifice that they do in the, what does it call that? Fuck, I can't remember.
I don't know.
Look it up. Alex Jones sneaks into Bilderbergs.
The
What's it? They call that? They do it every year. It's like a big thing that they do in the forest with the owl, and they burn shit and they sacrifice stuff.
What the fuck is that called?
You're not supposed. He snuck in. It was like a big thing.
Oh man, that's gonna annoy me.
It's on the tip of my tongue too.
Oh my god.
Alex Jones snuck into Bilderberg meeting. Bilderberg.
What's that called?
While we're talking about Bilderberg and he's looking it up, you know about the Bilderbergs, right?
Yeah, the Bilderberg group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So then you could talk about, the table of 300. You could talk about the Council of 13. Yep. It breaks down smaller and smaller and smaller. And the smaller you go, it's just like richer and richer and richer. And then you get to the David Rockefellers and the David Rothschilds and all these guys is worth so much money.
Yeah.
And I always tell people this, like people think like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are the richest guys in the world.
Sorry.
Bohemian Grove. There we go. Bohemian Grove. But everybody thinks, these guys are like the richest guys in the world. It's like, no, dude, like they're like the peasants at the table. They let them sit at the table, but they're the peasants over here. Yeah. They just got a seat here because they just got into this shit themselves and they have to be included because they have so much money.
You've seen the one speaking of the Rothschilds, right? Where he's fucking pointing, he's got his finger pointing in the chest of...
Well, look into the Council on Foreign Relations. Look into all of the subgroups that come off of the government, the World Health Organization, all these things. It's all controlled by the same people. Look at David Rockefeller and all of his friends are connected to everything. All of the big money from the industrial era of our country when we really started to fucking get money, those guys still control everything.
Yep.
They control the media. They control the news. They control the fucking crops. They control fucking most everything.
It's generational crime syndicate. The same families have ruled over humanity for fucking thousands of years.
For thousands of years.
And most people, that sounds
the
crazy.
Rothschilds, you could date them back to a long ass time ago.
And what's Rothschild mean? Red shield. Look at the old school Knights Templar. White with the red shield, like fucking Red Cross. It's all of it is the
symbolism
symbols,
in your face.
They love that. And
I mean, these guys, here's the thing is like,
look at Apple, right? Look at the Apple logo.
Oh yeah. Every logo. Look at
Apple, right? Like,
bro, every logo.
Eve,
the Google logo is a fucking Masonic symbol.
Yep.
Every major symbol down the line is something. It has some connotation to it. And it's like when
Pepsi.
Everything.
You know what's a good one with Pepsi?
What?
Have you heard this one yet?
No, I don't think I have.
So the mirror inversion of Pepsi literally is dead. ISDED is dead. You want to drink Pepsi?
Oh yeah, if you do it inverted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're all about that. Everything's a grand inversion, right? So if you just look at the way Pepsi's spelt in their logo, just you invert that, mirror it.
Is dead. Yeah, it's funny. Everything has something to it.
And they literally put fucking aborted fetal cells in that shit.
No.
Yeah, you got to stop drinking Pepsi if you drink that garbage.
What are you talking about? Aborted fetus cells, bro.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
you're going to have to give me some info on this one. I can't just eat that one.
I'm leaving that one there. You guys
that's
some
wild.
homework to do. Yeah, bro.
Aborted fetus cells in Pepsi.
They put that shit in everything, man.
In everything.
I mean, I shouldn't say it like that, obviously, but like, it's in vaccines and nobody gives a shit. They'll inject it into their bodies. Just some aborted fetus cells, like. Yeah,
what?
Yeah, bro.
I'm gonna have to look into that one for sure.
There was
We're gonna have to talk about that the next time you come here.
Yeah. I'll do some homework on it.
I will too.
Sure I come prepared, but
because that's wild.
Yeah, man, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
All of the logos, like, so how about you've seen the Vatican, right? From the aerial view of the Vatican even inside the Vatican looks like a snake's head with fangs. Like,
well, they have all the staffs. They have some shit on the staffs. On the top of the head, they have the fish. The fish is supposed the hat that the Pope wears is shaped like the fish head, and that has some kind of symbolism to it. There's a lot of
honeycomb. It's all pineal gland stuff.
Oh yeah, well they have the pine cones on everything. The Catholic Church and all sorts of other shit.
Pine cones, pineal gland.
Yeah,
looks exactly the same.
Speaking of pineal gland, I call me Joe Rogan, call me whatever you want, but it's an interesting topic to me. One of my favorite topics. I have to ask you: have you ever done DMT?
I have once.
You have once? I did it once as well,
but I didn't blast through.
You didn't get through.
One hit. I took one hit and the fucking lighter broke, and I looked at it as a sign. And I was like, I'll do it again.
Yeah,
but I haven't done it again.
But did you what did you have at least visuals of some sort?
Very, very onset of like, wow, that would have been really cool, but just enough to kind of have a meditative eyes closed. I laid down.
Geometrics?
Little bit, yeah.
All right.
Kind of more just swirly snake like. I didn't get deep.
Energy? Or
it was a great meditation for sure.
No. Were you looking at a type of energy, or would you call it a geometric pattern? Or neither?
It would be more swirly geometric.
But it was geometric.
In a sense, probably in a sense, but not probably where maybe I did not.
But because that's the first stage of it is while you're, I think, breaking through is there's heavy geometric, ever changing fractal patterns that are insane.
Yeah,
and they get crazier and crazier and crazier.
So
and then
how did you do it? So how many hits? And
I took one large dab. The only way to do this is to dab. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. That's the only way to do it. If you're going to do it, is you take a large dab, and it's got to be cold started. So like that means like it's in the bucket, and you very lightly torch it until it starts smoking, and then you just rip it as hard as you can, hold it as long as you can, and exhale. And before I was done exhaling, I was not in my body.
Yeah,
I was not here. I was immediately aware that there was consciousness outside of my body, because my first thought was I'm not in my body.
That's awesome.
And I also felt myself land back into my body, which was one of, if not the most
scary
crazy
at all, or were you kind of cool with it? Or
it was the most terrifying cosmic roller coaster that you could possibly imagine. It was also the most insane spiritual and enlightening journey that you could possibly imagine. And all of this was done in a matter of 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I came back and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was life-changing. And but when you talk about that shit, that's what it brings to me. And like when you talk about it before, like I'm spiritual, it's like you can't have those experiences and not.
Yeah.
You know after that there's something more to just this.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like when I say I'm spiritual, it's through experience that I say that. I'm not,
well, clearly if you were an atheist and now you're not, that's through experience.
Yeah.
You have to have a perspective to be an atheist, and you have to have a perspective to not be an atheist.
So this is a good topic actually, because it also ties into a lot of what I do with my coaching, where like you have to have experience. You have to play both sides of this pendulum swing to know the balance, right? Like a pendulum's always moving, but if you want to find the middle point in that motion, you have to know both apexes. And so
it's like riding a bike.
Yeah, like so. Yeah, it's if you want to know,
you want to go straight down the line,
your center. How do you know a center if you don't have the apex boundaries?
Correct.
You have to. So if you want to be a centered individual, you have to, through experience, know both sides of the spectrum.
And by the way, I just want to plug this for you. So like I saw that, I think it was during COVID, you started doing like, what is it? Like just like life coaching?
So, people might know it as life coaching. I call it like
just coaching,
health coaching, self-development. I call it self-sabotage coaching.
Listen, some people I think need and greatly benefit from these things. And in fact, all people can, no matter what, have somebody putting good things in your ear benefit from you. Not everybody is surrounded by good people with good advice. Sometimes you need to surround yourself with that. And if it takes paying money to do it, you want to better yourself, this is something you need to do.
And that's how everybody grows and learns in life.
100%.
It's investment in others who have either been down a path you want to get to, or can journey with you. So I guide and help and teach people how to develop the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional strength to become a man, be a man, stop fucking destroying themselves. Stop being the own hand that poisons themselves on the regular. Stop being the own thoughts that poison themselves on the regular, and kind of like step into that new age growth of you're here for a reason, man. And like time's a ticking, you know? So that's what I do. And I found that through jiu-jitsu and through my wife. She's a naturopathic doctor. That's how we met. She started training with me. I coached her through some things like naturally, just because I was training jiu-jitsu with her. And then she was like, you know, Matt, you'd be a great like health coach. You know, you're into this stuff. You speak well. You helped me out with so much stuff. You should look into doing that. I was like, all right, fine. I went and got a certification. And yeah, since then,
I've seen you.
And then COVID hit. So it's literally just been, I've been on like this like insatiable hunger of self-growth.
I've noticed it, man. I'll give you a ton of credit, man. Salud, because for real,
appreciate that,
I've seen it. You know what I mean? And that's a
Yeah.
big reason why I wanted to have you on the show, was because like you're not just some conspiracy nut, dude. Like you're an all around make myself better in any way possible.
Yeah.
And you have to, bro, I respect that, because you take that with you to everything
Indeed.
you're doing.
And
I noticed
that also was a byproduct of the truther world, because I was always like, yo, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Like, I want to know things. I want to better. I want the truth. I want to better myself. And so when you look yourself in the mirror and you know something, like when I look myself in the mirror and I know, I'm like, damn, man, like I'm not the best version of myself if I'm still fucking drinking every weekend. I'm not the best version of myself if I'm still going to fucking open up the computer and beat off for no reason. I'm not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
all these things that we just grow up thinking,
all these
use
things,
it or lose it, or everybody else is doing it. You know?
It's also complacency and habit and just bad overall picking up of these things over time. You just gather this baggage and you carry it with you, and you continue it because it's like a comfort zone. It's safe. It's what you know. It's what you're used to. It's your little, this makes me happy. This is easy.
It's a sedation.
That's what it is. It's all masking everything. It's masking everything.
Sedation and unwillingness to have the dark night of the soul. And that's where you kind of like that DMT experience. That's a psychedelic experience. That's a kind of one and done thing.
Correct.
But
I haven't done it since, and I'll be honest with you, I'm scared to do it again. I feel like it was for a reason. I had that experience. I was blessed to have that experience.
Yeah.
I was meant to have that experience, but you're not meant to be like recreationally doing that shit.
Yeah. Sometimes
anybody who comes out of that shit thinking that is a little kooky.
Sure.
Like, is not looking at that shit under the right spectrum scope, because like that's not what it's meant for.
I agree.
I had a whole new respect for it, and I already had a very high respect for it, and that's why I did it. Was because I had done years and years of research on this. I've done countless hours of watching and reading and finding out about this shit before I did it. And when I did it, I sat there for a good half hour looking at it like, am I really going to do this?
Yeah.
I knew the gravity of it. Like, some people are just doing it as like, let's get fucked up. That is not going to go well for you, my boy.
No.
And you are also not going to fucking take nothing with you neither.
No.
Like, I took more than most people would take with them because I was so mentally prepared for it.
Yeah.
I prepared myself that day and for the 10 years before it, leading up to it, to make me aware of the situation enough to take something with it. A lot of people are not able to do that. I had a very special situation with it too that most people aren't able to get. I had a full Kundalini awakening during mine.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you know what that is.
I know Kundalini, but
Kundalini awakening is when all of your chakras and everything gets centered, and you have a crazy energy, because it's the first time the energy could travel fully up. And dude, I felt every chakra start. I didn't believe at this point. I did not believe in chakras. I thought it was like, oh, you're a Reiki coach.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're a Reiki. You do Reiki hearing.
Yeah.
Like,
tell me about my root chakra.
Tell me
buddy.
about whatever. Like, that was one of the things that I actually feel bad that I would like look down on people for thinking like, oh, like you believe in this
and
stupid
that
nonsense.
Itself, right, it's a huge game changer for you too, because
right away I have a new perspective.
You used
now.
to be like, whatever.
I was like, I felt the shit. I know it's there. It's in there. I felt it. Like, I felt the shit start up. I felt them all connect. I felt the energy go through my entire body. I didn't know. Here's the thing about it is I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. I went on Google, like, what is it when blah, 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 blah happens? And it was like, bam, Kundalini awakening. And I started digging deeper, and it was like, oh yeah, like people who like do high meditative states or high yoga states or psychedelics sometimes attain this. But then I started looking into it, and it's like, oh, you're not supposed to have that shit if like you didn't do it right. And then I look into it, and it's like, oh, like the highest level yogis, like they super frown upon you getting that through,
Yeah, it's
like cheating. It's like a cheat code.
Sure. Or gaining knowledge you're not prepared to have.
Yeah, but that's the thing is the reason why they do it is because they say it could break some people.
Yeah.
Like you'll never be the
Absolutely.
same. It will fuck you up for life. I luckily didn't have that happen. I think it changed me for the better somehow because I maybe was supposed to. That was meant for me.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, I don't know why. But at the end of the day, what I took from that was like that was meant for me because it doesn't happen to everybody, and it happened to me at the right time, and I nothing bad happened. Only good came from it.
Yeah. And in my perspective now, and the way I see things, like even if it wasn't just good that came for it, it was meant for you.
Oh, well,
and it was what you needed because that's what happened.
A true person who has done any kind of psychedelics in their life and did it not recreationally, did it for a good reason. They all come out knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I was like when I did ayahuasca, man.
So you did do ayahuasca.
ayahuasca,
Okay, so then that's DMT, but
Yeah.
just the long version of it.
Indeed.
So
but-
where did you do it?
So I did
like
it.
with a shaman.
I did it with a shaman.
Where were you?
She's a Colombian shaman, and she brings it from Colombia. So I was on some farm upstate.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't have to travel to Costa Rica.
No, I was.
That's better.
Yep.
So because everybody I know is like, oh, like I'm going to fucking Colombia for it, or I'm going to down into the Amazon. I'm like, bro, I'm not sleeping with jaguars to do DMT. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
nah.
No, and I was kind of. That's where I was at, like watching all the Terrence McKenna shit, like
Terrence McKenna's
getting into ayahuasca. Yeah, he was out there. He was a cool dude, though.
I gotta tell you, I have a very. This is another dark little guilty pleasure of mine. I have hours of listening to that lunatic just rant logged in my time. And it's like,
same. I think I've heard everything that's possible. That
like,
he said on
most
the
of the
internet.
things that are out there that you could hear from him, I've listened to dozens of times.
Yeah.
And just listening to that guy rant is one of the best things. I wish that guy was alive to still have a podcast in this day and age because it would be unreal.
My God,
it would be amazing. Could you imagine that guy having a podcast in 2023? It would be
incredible,
life changing.
Yeah.
Thank God we still have his brother.
Yeah.
His brother's great.
Yeah, no, they're great.
Dennis.
They're the work they did is incredible.
Both of them together are pioneers.
Big time.
Absolutely.
Big time. I'm still,
and also Dr. Rich Strashman, Dr. Rich Strashman.
Yep.
So I've read his book. I've seen the movies. I'm a very big fan of that guy. That guy, he reversed 30 to 40 years of backtracking both mental health and psychedelic research himself single-handedly, 100%.
Yeah.
You have to give that guy major props. Like 10 years from now, people may have serious, huge benefits they never could have possibly had because of that guy's research in the 90s. Yeah. That guy is a fucking trailblazer.
It speaks for themselves in terms of psychedelics and plant medicines as a medicine or just a game changer. Like you said, you can't be doing it. Mushrooms get a bad rap because when you're 17 years old,
you're
the
just
first
taking
time
a
you're
handful.
doing it is a handful at some dorm room with some guys you barely know.
Yep.
Because it's a Friday night, you're a freshman in college. Well, guess what? Yeah, that's why you're a meth head now, and you're like, fuck mushrooms, I'll never do that again.
Yep.
It's like, nah, dude.
Yep.
Like, come on. You gotta.
I learned when I was very young with
respect.
my first few encounters with it. This is not something you just play with for funsies.
Yeah.
This is not a funsies thing.
No.
You can't look at it like
even
that.
on like we call them the ghost chocolates, right? You make the 1 gram chocolate, and that was like good for your smoking. You're still drinking, you're hanging out, but you want a little bit.
It's like you're in a concert.
Even that, but even that, I was always kind of like, I don't know, man. I'd still rather just even if it's just a gram, eat a gram, close my eyes, and wait until I open my eyes again.
You're gonna have more.
You know,
you're gonna get more from that. Yeah, 100%.
And that's when I really started.
This shit is much more of an introspective thing. That's what it's for. It's introspective.
Introspective, spirituality, whatever, connection, right? So a lot of that stuff.
I've learned more through my very few, and I've only had a few like real big psychedelic experiences in my life. And in those very few, I've learned more through that than most of the rest of my life, I think. In that small amount of time, I learned a lot.
Yeah. The first
about
time,
myself, about life,
yeah,
about way things work, everything.
For me, without a doubt, the most game-changing, impactful experience in my life was when I did
ayahuasca.
Acid for the first time. I was 14.
Yeah.
Like I was mad young, and it was just such a game changer. It was just like, dude, what the fuck was that? Like, wait a second, all this shit that everybody's talking about is bullshit. So I wasn't like a conspiracy theorist yet then.
It was the first time you opened your mind fully.
It was the first time I was like, whoa, man, all this is... Before then, I was very straight-laced. I was like, do as you're told, just be a good boy. And sure enough, that's shortly after I started
that's why they
playing the
criminalized
drums.
it, let's be honest.
Yeah,
because they don't want
it
that.
backfired. They were trying to use it as a form of mind control, and it totally backfired.
Because people caught wind on it.
Yeah, people, were becoming hippies and like, yo, why are you?
The thing is,
everywhere?
I always tell people the wrong person was in charge of that movement, and that's the only thing that game changed it going from one way to another way. It would have cascaded and snowballed to such a deeper, quicker level if it just had not been that guy. If he wasn't the fucking face of it, and because he got kooky with it,
yeah, indeed,
drop out of fucking school and say fuck it to everything.
Too hard.
He went too hard, too off the deep end.
Yeah,
he had some good ideas, but they got coalesced with bad shit that took the whole thing down.
So I've introduced mushrooms to countless people. Like I really and even from a coaching perspective, like I will work with people for a few months and feel them out and then be like, hey, have you ever considered microdosing mushrooms? Things like that. People, have you ever, thought about a psychedelic experience? Old girlfriends never did anything, but the people that I've introduced mushrooms to, it fucking changes their life, man.
Even microdosing, see, just like you said, when you're kids, nobody looks at it like, oh, I'm going to just take like a point little baby 2.5 of this shit. Nobody was doing that.
No.
But when people do, it's sometimes even more eye-opening than having the experience, because they're like, wait a minute, this could like really impact just my well-being and sense of well-being and it by itself.
Yeah. And it's so this is my
and this is a lot of people on antidepressants and things that they think are helping them. And then they take this and like, wait, why am I on this other dumb shit?
You want to talk about programming? I know people. So I've gotten people off of their psych meds. I know,
Thank God.
Yeah, you got.
That's great.
Absolutely. Like literally, like people. Oh my God, thank you so much, man. Like I've been on this shit for 10 years. My life was fucked up. Introduce them to some microdosing and whatnot, or even like a heavier dose. Like, because I know sometimes people like I dated a girl and she had depression and anxiety, and I introduced mushrooms to her. And then she became the kind of person that it was like about every 6 months, she would just eat an eighth. She would go out.
Some people need that reset.
And it was just like a reset.
Yeah, people need
she had
that.
Like seasonal depression type stuff that she could completely avoid just by going off and eating some mushrooms. Now, on the microdose level, it's more over time and
it's like
accumulation. But people with the programming, they're so hesitant.
Of course, because they think it's like
taking fucking
they're taking too much
poisons. No, I'm talking about the people that are like
no, they're taking drugs.
Yes,
real drugs. Not
without
nature.
A second thought, right? Without a second thought.
Yeah.
Oh, my doctor prescribes this. Oh, this is giving me nightmares. Well, take this. This will help. Ping pong, bouncing all
next thing you know, you're on 5 pills.
And then I'm like, yo, have you ever considered taking just a little tiny bit of some mushrooms that grew from Mother Earth that was put here for a reason?
A lot of people have never heard of the word microdose.
They haven't.
It's
kind of a newer thing, right? I'm sure people have been microdosing forever.
No, but this has become a more mainstream thing over the course of the past 5 or 10 years.
And I have an issue with it from the mainstream perspective for this reason. It's when you got to kind of always be skeptical when all of a sudden the mainstream is getting on to something, right?
Yeah.
Like even in the news, you're seeing it now in 60 Minutes.
Now, the thing is, they're doing big studies that are funded big studies and call it like Johns Hopkins right now that are having super amazing results. And they know that this is going to get to a point where, we're getting close where they're going to do something with it.
But even that's the thing, right? Like
now they're going to farm it. They're going to turn it to pharma.
They don't know this stuff already.
They're
pretending like the studies are
They're dragging it as long as they can so they can make money on what they have already.
And that's the thing, right? It's not going to be an organically grown mushroom.
It's going to be a fucking synthetic psilocybin that's got
in
all their
pill.
bullshit in it. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so that's my issue. And hopefully the people that it will benefit can run into those that, you know what?
That's still going to be better than a lot of other shit.
It'll be better.
Yeah.
But that's also falls into like that meme that I saw where they're the ancient Mayan, they're like slaughtering at the altar and they're like, it's not the best system, but it's the only one we got. It's like, no, I will forever be like, fuck pharmaceuticals. Fuck all that shit.
Yeah.
Like literally. Like I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to cure disease, but I'm not going to bite my lip and be scared to say that.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Pharmaceuticals are poison.
Let me ask you a question. Of course they are. That's a fact. But like, let's say something gets really bad with you and you they say you have to take medicine. Are you not taking it?
Oh, never.
Nothing.
Never.
Nothing.
Like give me, I don't even want to say something.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But like
no matter what you get, you're not taking nothing.
I would never do chemo. I would never do radiation. I would if I'm in pain, it's through the pain that you learn and grow. So like, I don't need pain pills. Like, what other medication? If they tell me like there's something wrong with my heart, like, why? Because you hook me up to some machine.
Well, what I'm saying is that's what it would almost be like. If you need like a blood pressure medication, it's like, yo, you're going to drop dead if you don't take it.
I will take my chances and know that they're fucking bullshitting me anyway.
That's
and
crazy.
Or drop dead.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, bro.
And I'm
living my truth.
That's crazy.
And I do it through actions. And my thoughts are already there where I'm like, but I know it's poison. So I'm not going to be deceived by them. They're not going to trick me into thinking what they're trying to give me is going to make me better ever. Now, outside of acute care, right? I get in a car accident. My shoulder blade is, my fucking collarbone's shooting out of my shoulder. Yeah. Then I want Western medicine.
Yeah.
Bring me to the best
doctor.
What
I'm saying.
Bring me to the best surgeon.
You're going to have to get a surgery. I mean, what are you going to
do? That's kind of its own world, right?
What, surgery and medicine, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acute care, like trauma. Yeah. Somebody, puts a hole in me with a gun.
For me, it's more like heart medication because like my dad had a serious heart attack, a very serious heart attack, and he's on tons of meds. And it's like, I wish he wasn't on those, but I know he'll literally drop dead if he's not on these things.
So yeah, once that's kind of like the, I don't know, what's an example? A deep alcoholic can die from stopping drinking like that.
True.
Right? So to what extent is he just kind of went down the road that now he can't get off of, or he'll die? Was your dad a healthy individual before he had the heart attack?
Probably not the healthiest, but I'm just saying.
What meds was he on?
He wasn't on meds before that though. But now, he's got to have certain shit or it's no good.
So another perfect example is I really struggled with anxiety for a big part of my life. And part of why I got into all this extreme shit was I always
battle that.
Yeah, I always asked myself, I was like, did I get into, was I, this athlete and drummer and fucking started doing jujitsu because I enjoyed it? Or was it because that's when my mind was quiet? That's when I didn't suffer. And I just wanted the relief and the release. So I always asked myself. It was an escape. So was I doing it for the activity or was I doing it to escape something? So it was a little bit of both for sure. But for a long time, so it started off first with them calling up my mom, telling me I needed to be on Ritalin. And my mom's a nurse and thankfully not the kind of nurse. And this is like the early 90s, right?
They were handing those shits out like candies to everybody, bro.
I was at the ripe age,
Oh, I remember those days.
Sitting on my fucking desk at school, drumming. They're like, he needs medication.
Yep.
My mom's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So thank God, number one right there. Then I'm 21, having my first panic attacks for no reason. Not the kind of shit you smoke some weed and all of a sudden.
I was going to say, was it from weed?
No.
Okay, because I've seen mad people have that.
Yeah, so I think the first time I ever experienced that, I was 16 or 17. Yeah, I smoked some weed. I was at my friend's house and all of a sudden I remember I'm like, I'm going to go outside. I don't know what's going on. My heart was slamming to my chest.
I feel like that's when people who have anxiety it's not that it triggers anxiety, it's that they realize they have it.
Well, and that's the thing, because what also would happen, so I ended up I used to get mad and I battled the anxiety, even though I was smoking weed, even though I know it would also cause it, but I like smoking weed. And when I smoke weed, it also helps because then I would have anxiety. You're
battling through shit.
I would have anxiety for no reason. So I was the kind of person where it got so bad that I was, take a panic attack and then take that, but then that's your life. I was in a state of anxiety
all the
for
time.
Fucking months, bro. When I was 21, it was brutal. My mind would not stop. I had no relief. Couldn't sleep, cold hands, sweaty palms, adrenaline, asking my mom, I think I'm losing my mind. What's going on? Oh, that's anxiety. Yeah, it's in our blood. I was like, well, what the fuck does that mean? This is before you could type it up and look into shit, I'd just be like, well, when I sit and read a book or distract or get on my drums, I feel a little better. So I was constantly chasing this release, but never took a Xanax in my life. Never took, a Zoloft, any of this shit, bro. And guess what?
Now you're here.
Dark night of the soul. In the pain is where you get through it. And now I'm 43 years old and I feel like I'm in the best spot I've ever been in my life. Anxiety might try and rear its head. And I just, hey man,
you're hopping an ice bath.
Nice try, buddy. Yeah, nice try, dude. That's, there's no tiger in the room. What are you trying to do to me? I'm not going there. So
you learned how to battle it.
I learned how to battle it. I learned how to respond to it, not react. I learned how to not let it fucking snowball into this thing that then consumes me. So anxiety for me, this is why this is also why I'm kava right now is the only thing that I consume now outside of water and any type of drug, if you will, outside of food. So I'm still not there yet, but I want to get to the point of before I smoked weed for the first time when I was 13, before I started drinking, get to the point where I know what it's like to just be a human being who eats food and breathes air and drinks water for more than a week. You know,
Yeah.
I'm 43 years old. I can't even say that since I was a kid. So that's kind of like where I'm at. Like Kava's still the one thing, right? I train hard. It's a little relaxing. It's kind of, the boys are down there, right? We talked about the spot. It's
Yeah.
a dope spot. So
yeah, shout out, definitely Island Kava, man. Check it out.
for sure. And there's
Facts.
another one in Massapequa, I believe it is.
Oh yeah, they opened another one. Yeah.
So
I heard about that.
Patchogue. So, but the idea is I'm trying to get to that point where like that's a fun game to play in itself. Like you think getting fucked up is fun? Play the game with your own mind where you try and master that and you see where that daily battle is and the days you win and the days you lose. That shit'll fucking feel like a high in itself, man. When you
100%.
win those battles, like that's empowering as all hell.
Yeah, I mean, Angelo, my boy right here, I mean, he just lost a serious amount of weight. He's been putting in work now for like a year.
Down
That's
like
awesome.
75 pounds.
Yo.
Guy's killing it, dude. Guy's killing
Hell
it.
yeah, dog. Yo.
It's
Yeah,
a mental
for real.
battle every
Good for
day,
you,
and
brother.
there's ups and downs. There's times where I'm like, damn, I'm starving, and I go off the deep end, and then the next day I come back. You know,
Yep.
and it's just a battle.
It's a battle and it's a daily battle. That's the other thing
Yeah.
too, right? There's no summit of the mountain of self-growth. And
Ever.
if you're trying to achieve that summit thinking it's going to be a place of happiness, it's the journey, right? So that's another thing, right? Like people think, "Oh, if I just get this, if I just achieve that, then things change." And they hate the journey. Losing weight. So hopefully this hasn't been the case for you, but dieting, losing weight's another one. They're miserable. They're wanting to eat stuff that they're not eating. They're constantly hungry or they think they're starving themselves. Yeah, they're losing weight, but they're not happy of the journey.
Oh, yeah, I
So
will
when
be
you
honest,
lose
it's rough.
you get to that mountain summit where it's like, I wanted to
Yeah.
lose 50 pounds. I lost the 50 pounds. Well, when the journey was not enjoyable, that means the lifestyle's not sustainable and you gain the weight back.
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
Bro,
And not only
I eat
that-
chicken and rice every day. For a year. I love it. I don't know. It's just I love it.
No, it's good to get
it's
into
like a Chipotle bowl, but
Sure.
the healthier version for me. It's great.
And it's good. Yeah, you find stuff that works. But so another one, I actually just did a video about this too, like where you have to reprogram your mind because it's the behaviors that have led to where you're at.
Everything's habitual. It's habitual.
Indeed.
You need to, everything is habitual. So what you need to do is like, okay, these are my habits. How do I break these habits? And how do I get into different habits? And then once you get into those habits, how do I stay in these habits? That's what it is. Because when I learned that when I quit cigarettes, because that's the first thing that I realized in my life, this has a hold on me. I can't control myself with this shit. I need to get a grip on this, right? I came to the conclusion after trying different things, the only way to do this is mind over matter, throw the fucking pack away, never look back. It's a complete habitual change.
Yeah.
All of my triggers are never going to trigger me again. I'm making this decision consciously right now. I don't give a fuck if I'm in traffic. I don't give a fuck if I just had a cup of coffee. I don't give a fuck if I just ate a great meal.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if I just got a blowjob. Guess what? I don't want a fucking cigarette.
Yeah.
I'm not having a cigarette. And you want to know what I fucking replaced it with? Fucking toothpicks.
Toothpick tone, baby.
Yeah.
So on that, bro, I know we pretty deep into this shit. I'm going to put this on record right now. Obviously, 100% we're going to be having you back.
That'd be awesome, man. Yeah, time flies, right? I don't know how long it's been.
On this pod, our goal is to have like good recurring characters and good recurring guests that we feel are something that brings to the table what our vision is. And I think you definitely fit that bill. So we would love to have you on definitely again. And we appreciate you coming out today.
Definitely.
And until then, man, imagine knowing nothing.
Yeah, I'll imagine. All right.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.